Hello.
Well, it just
Somebody
depends
figured it out. I don't
what
think
race
we
were
need to
the contenders, the past contenders.
Nope, we're not going there. Don't do it. Nope.
Really,
Now you turn it into Tyler. Turn it into Tyler over here. This is how we
My,
get canceled.
my
We do
question is,
that.
if
All
there's
right.
a demand for it, why are you guys trying to gatekeep supply because you just don't like it? Just don't buy it.
because Christ is king and atheism is wrong.
All
All right.
deities are kings, okay?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. All right, let's get into the first topic here. Let's actually talk. Let's give the intros. Tyler, go ahead and start us on. You just on the Crucible. Tell us how and why you should have won that, but somehow lost the grid. Tell us.
Oh no, Grid was great. Andrew was great. I had a fantastic time, and I in my mind and heart, getting 26% of enemy territory to vote for me is a fantastic accomplishment. I had a great time. I'd do it again tomorrow, and I'm always right. And the only thing that matches my intellect is my empathy. So like, I get where they were coming from, and average debate enjoyer on everything. It would refine me and shit.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go to our new guest here, Drew. Tell us who you are, what you do.
What's up, everybody? My name is Drew Chandler. I am a streamer, podcaster, and yeah, I talk politics, culture, just I'm kind of a jack of all trades. So, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Non-fun.
What's up? I'm Nonfun. I stream on Twitch and Kick, Nonfun420, YouTube at Nonfun. I'm here to defend liberalism as always.
Fantastic, Pit Double.
Hey, I'm Bit Double TV. I'm a Twitch streamer. We do politics and baseball. MAGA headquarters.
Fantastic. The Soy Pill.
Hey, I'm the Soaphill. I was just on a debate. Now I'm on another one. I make video essays. I stream sometimes, and I'm here to defend non-fun.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. I'm excited for this one. I think this one will be a little more spicy. Let's talk about the Tesla terrorism. Is it terrorism? Should they be tried for terrorism? It's interesting that allegedly the makeup of the perpetrators all seem to be rich white people or white people in general. I thought that was interesting. I know we don't usually dive into race, but that's been brought to me that they're all a certain political leaning, whatever, and the right has never done anything like this. Allegedly, I might have taken some umbrage with that declaration, but let's dive into it and see what's happening with Tesla terrorism. Average debater enjoyer, start us off.
I'm gonna go with I'm trying to be consistent here. I liked the upgrading of the charges to the January 6th protesters based off of terrorism. I like the terrorist upgrade charges here too. I think we need to put a foot down to political violence. I like that it's being done across the board. I would have liked to see the Palestinian rioters that took over Colombia and that Mohammed Khalil dude was negotiating for also get the same treatment. Like, political misbehavior that leads to violent action should actually be something we police very thoroughly because it undermines actual good protest.
Fantastic. Drew, go ahead.
What was the prompt again?
Tesla terrorism.
Oh yeah, So yeah, Tesla terrorism, no good. A lot of it seems to just be stemming from a hatred of Elon Musk due to his support of Trump in this last election. Keep in mind, liberals loved Elon Musk up until he supported Trump, so it's a funny phenomenon going on, where all of a sudden they're just crashing out and whether it be destroying dealerships, destroying individual Teslas. I saw a video the other day of a guy keying a Tesla, which is retarded because, as we know, Teslas have cameras on them. So, yeah, it just seems very low IQ terrorism and pretty gay.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, non-pod.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have an issue with any of these people being charged as terrorists or whatever if it fits the definition of the law, which I think it probably does. And I don't think it's really an effective form of protest or anything. You're not going to find that much disagreement on that, but.
All right, to double.
So I'm not going to go all lawyer and try to do like a legal analysis on terrorism or anything, but generally terrorism is violence carried out for political gain. I would say it seems pretty obvious here that the political gain here would be is trying to dissuade Elon from participating in government. So I think it is arguably terrorism. There's the political element there. I don't know how this would hold up in court necessarily. I think a lot of the cases will probably just be, pretty basic charges for, like arson or whatever the, most extreme cases are that we're talking about. I don't think keying cars is going to be terrorism, but I think that the people that are, really trying to like intentionally hurt Tesla stock, I think these sort of things are a roundabout way of trying to dissuade Elon. It's pretty obvious that, like, I mean, not that everything that's aiming to dissuade Elon from participating in government would make it terrorism, but political violence, political goal. The political goal is to hurt Elon, try to get him to step away from, the administration. So I think it's certainly the closest we've gotten to terrorism, probably domestically.
All right, Swordpill.
Yeah, just like on its face, obviously, I think there's very easily ways you could say this is terrorism, this is vandalism, they should be charged, and to the, my lawyers advocated that I don't advocate for any of those things. However, I think the more interesting question is, why is it happening to Elon? I realize, sorry, I don't know everyone's name here. Drew mentioned, oh, they're crashing out because he's supporting Trump. I think it's much more serious than that. You see a man who is promoting a lot of Nazis on Twitter, who has done a Nazi salute, who's doing things that I heavily disagree with, and to be fair, I am a liberal, and I thought he was a dumb piece of shit when I worked for him back in 2016. So I've been kind of ahead of the curve, but now he's just made it way worse. I think there are, in the same way during the Mario Brothers debacle with the United Healthcare CEO. Yeah, I don't think we should advocate for the kind of behavior that is happening, but I think there's a very interesting discussion to be had for the people that are being materially harmed by the actions that they're parties that they're taking action against. So if you are one of these people who are losing their cancer medication, who are losing their tuberculosis medication for any of the fucking dumbass Elon cuts through Doge, if you can't do anything about it by protesting peacefully in the streets, what do you tell those people when they are being materially harmed, if not maybe literally killed by Elon's policies? I think
Storm the Capitol. That's what you tell them. Storm the motherfucking Capitol, baby. Woo!
Go ahead, let him finish his opening, though.
No, that was about done. That was a good jump in anyway. We should...
Sorry, I thought it was funny.
Did you meet Elon when you worked for him?
No, I was one degree of separation away from him. My boss talked to him on the phone, and I got downstream orders from him. But I was just...
Are you a programmer?
Okay, I was just now curious. I am. I was a aerospace engineer, and I worked... I did an internship at SpaceX, and because he works at the... I was at McGregor, Texas. He's usually in Hawthorne, LA. So he didn't come out that much.
So you just think it's like a justified reaction? Although here's my question about like the cancer research thing, for example, because I see this point being paraded around. But how much of the cancer research industry was this program that got cut? Do you know?
It doesn't matter. Let's say it's
and
one.
Why
if you're the one person,
hang on. You said
it's one person. Let's say one person gets wrong by this. This is like the whole conversation, right? Well, let's say that 99. All I'm saying, this is just my argument. I'm not trying to like argue with you specifically, but what I'm saying is, look, let's say 99% of denials from like a healthcare company are 100% justified. They're for medication that costs too much. It doesn't make any sense. But there's one case that they unjustly, they're just like, hey, fuck this guy. And they kill that guy, quote unquote, insofar as they prevent him from getting the healthcare that would save his life. What do you tell that man? What do you say to that person who is saying, hey, this company's killing me. There's no legal recourse for me. What am I supposed to do about it? That's kind of like the basis where I come from. Just like morally, like,
right, but you're kind of just drawing a direct line from like the death. Like there's how many variables do you have to actually go through to justify like what we're talking about here?
Yeah,
and,
well,
like, I don't know that
how many people die of lack of
program...
tuberculosis medicine because Elon Musk says fuck US aid and cuts it unilaterally without any sort of check and balance?
Well, right, but that's why I'm saying, like, isn't there an obvious follow-up question, like how much of the tuberculosis research industry would this be? Like,
it's
how
not research.
This
is direct tuberculosis medication for people today. This is not so the cancer research, that is a little more. I think you could stretch that one a little bit because it's like, okay, like someone might die because they didn't get a medication that didn't get created because of cancer research 10 years from now. Like, yeah, that's a little harder. Tuberculosis medication in certain countries, that's today, right? Although you might say, well, those people aren't vandalizing Teslas. They live in fucking Burundi, so that's a different thing.
Yeah, I guess you just rebutted for me.
Well, sort of.
I mean,
sometimes you need an American to do something because the Burundi people are too incompetent, because they can't get over here.
Wait. So are you advocating for like an American to take up the cause of the people of Burundi not getting like a tuberculosis medication because we decided we're going to
spending a small amount of money to...
I just think ultimately the difference here is that you think that there's like
that's a perfectly fine
there is a justification we can figure out. Whether you like saying exactly what it is different than like saying that there are justifications for it. Like we don't have to say what those are, but I don't believe that there are any. But you do, and that's I think the difference here mostly between us
I-
and Swipill and maybe Tyler.
I'm pretty pro-interventionist myself here. I like putting money into people's pockets to have them become our allies in the long term here. But if we're giving these nations money because they can't solve simple problems that most of the Western world has solved decades, if not centuries ago, maybe we could get some concessions out of them. Maybe we could make them do things we wanted to. Maybe we could make them vassal states or even go in and take them over. If they're that incapable, let's just go in and make them mini Americas, you know?
It's not that they're incapable, it's that they don't have the money to buy like the patented. Actually, I don't even know if they're patented. I think some of them are patented.
Why is Africa so poor? What's going on there,
A whole
non-fun?
host of reasons. I mean, like, it's
A whole host of reasons. Huh?
Yeah, like I mean, every other nation that's had a similar upbringing figured it out. They have inclusive economic institutions that they can use to build nation states up. And when we see these going on in South Africa, we're seeing racial hostilities going on there, where people are being stripped of their land and leaving the country as asylees. So there's a lot of issues there where it really trickles down from government not going in the proper direction to have an inclusive, economic, stable environment. That's really where nations
Yeah,
are.
but- okay, so let's just hold on. Let's just.
But it's very hard. Wait, real quick. It's very hard for these like unstable nations to sort of like get on this narrow corridor of where the state has just enough power to sort of protect civil liberties and these economic institutions, but not go too far as to undermine the free market and all of these economic institutions. Like it's very difficult for countries to do that, and that it just doesn't happen that often. But
Okay, yeah. So moving back to Tesla terrorism, because I don't think we're talking about the Burundis who need our funding any American terrorists. Let's just throw that out there. But back to Tesla terrorism, so I've seen this compared recently to the same as the KKK burning crosses in people's yards. Do we think that's a fair comparison?
Hey,
like drawing a swastika.
They're doing it to an
Tesla.
African American. They're doing it to an African American. So.
Well, I mean,
A
what if
little
they
close.
draw a swastika on a Jewish person's Tesla? Wouldn't that be the same thing?
If you
if-
ignore intent, then yes, it is
yeah.
the same thing. But
If you completely ignore the intent, yes.
What do you mean?
you
I
knew
mean,
that they were Jewish.
If I'm burning
and, like,
a-
did it because they were Jewish.
Yeah,
then
it's
maybe
doing
hold
it.
on. Is it
Call
does a hate crime have to be specifically based on that? If I
Yes,
draw
actually, a
swastika
hate
on
crime
Jewish-
does have to have the like intent behind it and the slur
Yeah,
involved.
hold on.
Actually,
So hold on. If
So
I'm
wait,
just-
if someone
I'm just
spray
a kid-
painted the N-word on a Cybertruck and they were like, I didn't know the guy that drove it was black, like what? They'd be like,
yeah,
would you
they
believe
would-
him?
That was,
yeah,
well, if they're
Would you
calling,
believe
wait,
it?
hold on, if they're calling Elon Musk the N-word, then yeah, I would believe him. But yeah, it's kind of silly. The point is that they're drawing the swastikas not because they think that the Tesla owner is a Nazi. It's because the CEO of Tesla they believe is a Nazi, and they're trying to implicate the people who support him financially in that. It's a form of societal ostracizing that is illegal, but
Doesn't it kind of come off like that you've lost on every front politically, that you've had to resort to just like trying to convince Elon to stop by attacking his businesses? It's like, isn't it kind of like
I don't think that's what they're trying to
embarrassing
do.
position to be in? For the
I
left?
don't think this is a message to Elon insofar as like, hey, stop what you're doing. We're going to stop you. I think that would be a little naive to believe that anyone.
I mean,
with
Tim
the-
Walz was literally saying like, "Oh, like we want to see the stock go down," and there's been plenty of articles that are like, "If we can
It's
push the
crazy.
stock down to this price, then like Elon
Oh.
will have to, short sell and all this
okay.
stuff will
Well,
happen."
That's,
Like
I
they're
wanted
trying to fuck his
Not
business.
crazy.
let me move it here. That's actually interesting because I kind of want to move this a little bit. So Tim Walz, he's advocated against Tesla, and his constituents apparently have a ton of Tesla stock in his whatever funds they funded, right? And on the flip side, I've also seen people compare like, hey, I'm a Tesla owner and I voted left my whole life, and someone vandalized my car, and now I'm going to definitely vote for the other guy because I don't like that you just ruined my Cybertruck or my Tesla that I spent all this money on.
Yeah, if
because
they were never
I
on the
bought it
left, if
10
that's
years
what
ago.
makes them switch, get fucked. I'd say to that. But
You think so? You really?
Wait,
Okay,
you
hold
don't
on.
think anyone
if
who owns
someone-
a Tesla was actually on the left?
no, I'm saying
Yeah,
if you are on the left as of now, and the thing that made you switch is someone vandalized your car because Elon Musk is doing Nazi shit, then you're never on the left. I'm sorry, you're just unprincipled.
they do
Wait,
say though.
Wait, what? You expect
also,
them to
wait,
sell it?
just to be,
Yeah,
just to. Tim Walz may not like Tesla, but you guys lost your fucking mind when Bud Light did a collab with a trans woman, okay? And when
Hold
you
on.
guys lost on political fronts,
the
your
same.
people stormed the Capitol because they thought
But
the
hold on,
election was stolen.
That's not the
Like-
same as well. The Bud Light
Totally
thing is not the same.
nonsensical.
But yeah, hold
I
on.
agree
Like,
it's
how's
not
the
the
Bud
same.
Light? How's the Bud Light thing the same? And whenever it's like a grassroots Republican movement.
It
as
was just
opposed
a
to-
meme. It wasn't even a boycott. It was just like
it was a
people called
boycott.
it gay,
People
and then
literally
people were like,
boycotted
it was
and
just a meme.
literally trashed.
I don't know about, I don't know about
Target
you,
over
but
it.
here, I don't know if you know Hispanic culture. They immediately stopped buying Bud Light overnight. Modelo became the number one, like at least in Texas, right? And so whenever you say that, whatever, that's different though. I don't know that the Texas government, for example, has any stock in Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Like Minnesota's government has stock in Tesla. Like that's supposed to be for their people's benefits. He's advocating for something against his own constituents.
Hey,
When,
Gibbs,
like,
Gibbs, did you know that Modelo is owned by Anheuser-Busch?
That's not my point.
Okay, I just thought it's a side note, but
That's
that's
not my
really
point.
fucking funny that they boycotted it by buying their other
It is
product.
it is number one now. Hey, listen, it's brewed with a fighting spirit. All
Well,
right?
that's
Like,
why I'm saying it wasn't
I'm
really a
just saying.
boycott. It was just like a meme.
Well,
It
just
was
because you
like
guys are too
being-
stupid to
drinking Bud
boycott
Light
doesn't mean it
was
wasn't a
gay.
boycott.
Just a meme.
No, first of all, it was the Hispanics that
No,
voted
that-
one.
that
so you
literally
call
is-
the Hispanics too stupid.
Those
because they-
Hispanics
it
are
came back.
stupid. Yes, those
Why do
specific
you think
ones.
it came back when Shane Gillis like ended the meme? Shane Gillis
Because-
basically ended the whole like,
Because
haha,
you guys
you're
have
drinking Bud Light,
no
you're gay.
principles, and you'll just fucking flip flop on anything as soon as it makes you
No,
feel
I know, but
good.
you're like it's. I mean, it was just I don't know.
There were absolutely people unironically boycotting it and cheering that the stock of.
I mean, yeah, on social
owns them
media,
was
but it's
going
like when we're
down.
talking about what actually happened to the business at scale.
I can
It
find
was
you want
just
me to find the
basically
videos of
bad
people going
marketing.
into Target and like
Yeah.
trashing all the Bud Light section.
And to be fair, wait, Dylan Mulvaney didn't Nazi salute in a bathtub, and because I would have boycotted Bud Light as well if
I
she
just
had
think
done
you're
that,
basically
so.
saying like, oh, people didn't buy it equals boycott. It's like,
Hey,
fucking-
like-
Oh, well,
That's
hold
what
on.
that's
Didn't
literally what a
Jasmine
boycott
Crockett-
is.
Well, Jasmine Crockett just did a Nazi salute last week, like a couple days ago.
Mm,
Right?
right,
talk
right.
about my
That's so
honey
true.
bear.
She
Don't
totally
talk
did.
about my honey bear
Hold
like
it, Zach.
that. Do not talk about my honey bear like that.
It's like, hey, look, just like it's not racism when black people do it, it's not a Nazi salute if a black woman does it, okay? Because a black woman can't be a Nazi.
Hold on. Isn't the Nazis' number one fighter right now?
According to Gemini.
A Hispanic guy that's an incel named Nick Fuentes and Kanye
Yeah,
West.
by the definition of
Those are-
boycott,
I'm
those are-
joking.
it
I'm
wasn't a
joking. I'm joking, Gibbs. I think a Nazi can
Those are the
absolutely be
records.
black.
Those are Hitler's biggest
but-
guys.
I
right now.
believe in
It was
DEI
amazing.
Nazis. Okay, I believe that they should also.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine what Hitler is like thinking? What would he thinking right now if he could see that the Nazi movement is now buoyed by fucking what's his name, Nick Fuentes and Kanye? I don't know what he'd probably roll over his grave, but that's okay with me. He can't roll over his grave.
So, real quick though, you guys get this persecution thing going on for Elon. Elon knows the bet he made and he's laying in it. He picked a side politically, just like Nike, Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, Disney, all these people over the last decade that all picked a side and they reap the consequences of the other side boycotting them. So it's absolutely fine. And for some people, it's a smart choice. Like Nike knows their demographics. The people that they pandered to happen to buy their clothes the most often, a particular demographic. So they
Who are
actually
they?
went up in sales. Canadians. And the like Disney, on the other hand, went against parents who tend to conservative more often, and they ended up seeing their stock crash. So it really is a business move. It was a bad one on Elon's part, but he put himself into that fucking arena. He deserves all the ridicule. That's all I got.
Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
that.
that's all you got. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. So do y'all think that's a fair equivalency to argue that it's like similar to the burning of crosses and whatnot because it's because people own the Tesla? Like, let's see. Is there any
No.
legal? No, you don't think so. What about firebombing
I mean,
Tesla?
in the sense of violence, obviously, like not in the sense of racism, but in the sense of violence. If you're going and setting someone's car on fire, is that not like equally intimidating as someone burning a cross in your yard? Like if you walk out and you see a mob burning your fucking cars, or you see them burning a cross, like obviously there's differences. There's like a religious aspect in one, but it's like as far as like how you're being treated, the terror that you're going to experience, it's like
No,
it's
have these
different.
Tesla protesters hurt a single human being, or is it only cars?
Well, I mean, I don't know what were there
No,
bombs
so-
found in one of them?
Pin, it was a
Were
mostly
there not
peaceful-
bombs found in
It was
one
a
of
mostly
them?
peaceful.
I would be
murder.
scared
It was
if I
mostly
was a
peaceful murder.
Tesla. I'm not a Tesla. I'm a human being. It seems like they're doing all
Hey,
right.
violence is violence. Just because it was a car this time doesn't mean next time it's not gonna.
Hey,
Well,
and-
this
and
is like
I-
kind of presuming that if you own like a Tesla dealership or you're a manager there, that the people coming up to firebomb your stock aren't gonna hurt you. It's
Oh,
like if you
financially,
really like
sure.
you think it's gonna
And
be easy to convince people that like, hey, we're not here to hurt you. We're just gonna light all your shit on fire and destroy all your property. It's like,
Oh,
okay,
well, that's why they
I'm
didn't try
totally
that. They
at
just
peace
did
now.
it. You know, I'm not saying they're peaceful, by the way. I'm
So
not saying this
far-
is justified, but my point of this is that there's a very material difference between I'm burning your car and I'm threatening your life because you are black and burning a cross on your fucking front lawn.
Well, okay. So what if you burn? Like, so there's been Tesla dealerships like burn and destroy. Like,
Mhm.
what's the difference between like I guess it's racist. One's like outright, hey, I'm burning this because we don't want black people here, and the other one is, I don't want you here be working for this company, so I don't want you to have your livelihood because of you're basically of a political persuasion. I see them as pretty similar, to be totally honest. Right?
One of them is an immutable characteristic that you can't change, and one of them is you just kind of putting your personal business that you should have kept to yourself out in the public and people judging you for it.
No. If you were but I'm saying, like, say I work as a Tesla salesman, and you firebomb the Tesla dealership I work at, you just ruined my livelihood.
You're right there. From that particular person,
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, that's true. They're intimidating. Like, I mean,
they're going after that
Well,
person.
that-
Just
I mean, that's
like,
not a. I don't think.
property damage
I
is
think
not
that's
like a victimless crime.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's
Well,
not like
first of all,
pirating music.
I don't. I'm
Do you
not.
think wait. Do you think anyone is arguing that, Pentuple? Please, I just want you to hear.
It sounds like you're arguing that. Yeah, it sounds like you're justifying property damage because it doesn't threaten people.
No,
Yeah, it
I'm
does
saying
sound
that
like
it's
you guys are
much
That's what we
different
said
from
it
burning
justified.
a cross.
Yeah,
That is
very
what
good.
I'm saying. I'm not saying it
Well,
doesn't
hold on,
have
hold on.
harm.
Is-
I'm
what-
not saying.
is- what's
I'm
the
not
difference
saying
in
it's
this
not
system?
terrorism. I'm not saying it doesn't harm people. I'm saying that it is
What's
not.
the difference you're pointing
yeah,
at?
how is it different? You destroyed somebody's yard, you vandalized their yard and burned a cross.
Because it's
or I
sending a
bombed
message from the group
Tesla.
of people that lynched them is very different from I don't like
Yeah.
Teslas. These are very different groups of people with very different goals trying to send a very different message. That's what's different.
Yeah, it's that if you
You think
support
that
this, we're
somebody
gonna
who gets their
bomb your
Tesla
Tesla
destroyed is
dealership.
going to be like, oh, this is just because it's Tesla. This isn't
Yes,
personal."
because that's what they're all doing.
Really?
Why do you
Yes.
think they think
Why do you think it's anything other than that?
I don't know. about
Tesla's
that.
not a protected class of people based off of immutable.
I mean, like,
characteristics.
you're defending literal retards attacking cars.
It's
like,
not good.
Hi, FD. I see you in chat. And yeah, sorry for this lineup.
Trying to argue
It's
here.
it's two different.
You
forms
are.
of trouble.
You're literally
Hold on,
defending
one at a
this.
time,
You're
one at a
like
time.
making it like not a big deal. He's like, oh, they're just.
I didn't
destroying the
say it
cars
wasn't a
'cause
big-
Elon did Nazi stuff.
We're
What do you
just saying it's
expect
not
when
a-
they
it's
cut
not
USA?
equivalent-
When
it's not
did-
equivalent to
What do you
the
expect?
KKK
It's
burning
like the dumbest
crosses.
thing.
You're extrapolating our opinions. I'm never saying this isn't a bad thing. I don't think these people shouldn't go to jail for what they're doing. I'm just saying it's very expected. But when you have someone in this position of power hurting material, you want to talk about material harm, right? You burn down this Tesla. I agree. That could absolutely harm all of the employees there. It might even put their health at risk if they were trapped inside that building when it burned down. But you know what? Cutting thousands of government employees under the specious argument of, hey, you all have to come back into this building that we can't fit you in, and the only reason we're doing this is to fire everyone who can't fit inside. Or, hey, if you work from home and you live 2 states away, get fucked. Like, we want to cut the federal government. Yeah, you're material harming those people too. And I see some sort of retaliation here
So
happening.
their normal
Well, hold on,
reaction should be
hold on,
to
I wanna
cause
move- I wanna-
property
I wanna
damage.
ask a question here.
I didn't say
So
that.
just-
Is that what I said?
Well,
I'm just saying
well,
I totally get where it's coming
It
from.
literally
is.
is what they're doing. Here's what you're doing. You're treating these people like they're reasonable. You're like, well, they're not attacking people. They're just attacking Tesla.
No, I
because
just saying
it's
I understand.
principled,
Here.
out of what the government's
The
doing,
Mario
what
Brothers
Doge
guy,
is
right?
doing, because of
I am
USA.
not.
It's like
I
a
don't think the
pretty
Mario
weird
Brothers guy.
argument.
Yeah,
I don't think.
one
I
at a
don't
time.
think. I don't think Mario Brothers guy was reasonable, right? Like, he had some unjust thing where he got fucked over by his back surgery, but then he went and he shot the CEO of a
There's guy, it
complete.
took me a minute.
He goes and shoots a CEO for a company that didn't actually wrong him, and it's like he's making himself a martyr for something, and it's like, yeah, that's clearly not reasonable. I think there's 1,000 steps you could take in between lobbying your local lawyer against that person. Or to like killing someone or burning down a Tesla. And that's why I'm not advocating for vandalism. I'm just saying that what Elon Musk is doing is incredibly harmful and incredibly egregious, and burning cars is expected, especially in comparison to the damage that he is causing. Yeah.
So let me ask this. All right, so like a guy do run this on the chat. He's an interesting guy, and he brought up the idea. I kind of do see this as maybe the same, but one, his argument was, they brought the wood and set up the cross of the yard. Yeah, it's scary, they burned it, but they actually didn't damage it. I would argue they actually vandalized the yard by burning it. You damage the yard when you burn something in the yard. Now, I see this now as the same extension because cars are considered an extension of your home in many states right now. Whether or not we agree with that, we don't have to debate that now. But it basically, you're going, hey, I can burn this guy's yard and it's not bad, or it's bad, but it's worse somehow than, hey, I actually burned this guy's extension of his home, or I burned this guy's car, which is his transportation, and he spent quite a big chunk of his money on this. And our argument is like, well, he supports Elon. If he was principled, he would sell his car. Like, who sells their? I mean, I would never sell my car.
A bunch of people here are selling their cars.
I own a Ford, right? If Ford tomorrow came out and was like, we're gonna donate all of our profits to the Democratic Party, I probably just would.
If Henry Ford came out and said something really anti-Semitic, I would sell my Ford. I'll say that.
Well, that's too late now, but it's whatever. He was dead before I was alive. But my point is, though, I bought my car cash, right up front, boom, bought my truck brand new, cash right off the thing. And if you burn my car, I'm fucked. That's annoying. Like you,
has
I'm gonna have to
anyone's
eat that,
has
I'm sure it's
anyone's car
insured,
been
but, like,
burned?
yeah.
Anyone's personal car been burned? I actually don't know.
I'm not sure. I could look that up. We'll find out.
I know
But
people
did
are like
probably was-
vandalizing
I
cars
mean-
that are personal people. The dealership was, non-purchase cars, right?
Well, those were
mean, somebody
bombs at the
finished
dealership, weren't they?
I don't know.
Aren't there bombs? I mean, like,
Maybe
it's
not.
just obviously getting out of hand, and the fact
No,
that
I'm
you're
just
like,
curious.
even
Yeah, there-
making
there
the
are-
link
there are-
to your political goals on like the Doge front and all that stuff. It's like the only reason you'd sink to this level is because you can't win in the House, you can't win in the Senate, you can't win in the presidency, you can't win in the state level. Like, what
Whoa.
drives the left to
First of
keeping
all-
this low?
first of
Well,
all-
just a
Also,
fact check.
the-
Like,
Like,
why
the
do you think it's a
entire
I'm not
reasonable
doing
response?
terrorism-
just a
I would
fact
argue
check.
it's
Yeah,
only
first
a
of all,
reasonable
the entire-
response if you've already
the
lost
entire-
everything.
Wait, you
know
keep
what I
saying
mean?
reasonable. I specifically
Oh.
said not reasonable. I said expected. Those are very different. I don't think it's reasonable.
Just a quick fact check.
Expected would
Hold on,
suggest
hold
that a
on, hold on.
reasonable person would react this way.
I don't think
no?
most
What's
people are reasonable, unfortunately.
God damn it! Don't even. Quick fact check. ChatGPT says.
Don't
over
wait. No,
80
you can't start the sentence off like that. Give me a real source. Come on.
I got fact check. I'm also using Grok. We're waiting for theirs.
Oh,
but it
okay.
says. Hey, we got,
much
those are
better.
good ones. They say 80. There's been 80 reported cases of vandalism, including arson of private vehicles, including dealership and charging stations have been vandalized. So
Okay.
I guess it's both. But so
Well,
we
I don't
got-
know because that could be totally made up. So I'd like a real statistics. So
Sure. Okay. We got a man in Vegas. Here's one. Cocktail.
three-
I drive a beater, so I'd love
Grok
if
3 is
somebody
incredibly
cut my shit
accurate.
up.
Incredibly accurate. Grok 3. It assessed non-fun perfectly.
what did it say?
Said he's Trump.
Said I'm like Donald Trump. It said I asked it to tell me which politician I'm most like based on my tweets, and it said Donald Trump.
Well, maybe,
Also,
especially if
just
you're doing it
real quick,
ironically.
quintuple. The entire reason it's terrorism is because there's a political motive. That's the entire thing that makes it terrorism. If you don't think it's political, then it's not going to be terrorism. Like
Well, this would be political, right? This is by your own metrics.
that's
I
my
mean,
argument.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
it
are
is
saying it's
political, and that's
terrorism.
why it
We've
is
never said it
terrorism.
wasn't. Yeah.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we should charge them with terrorism. That
it
way.
seems
Yeah,
like
sure.
you're
We said this at the
insinuating
beginning.
that you wasn't,
All right. Cool. And it's the same. All right. Interesting. Thoughts for the rest of the
Hey.
people. Drew, do you have thoughts here? You've been silent here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking it all in. I mean, I haven't really paid too much attention to. I've only seen like clips and stuff of the like all the Tesla news and everything's going down with that. So I've just kind of been taking it all in, just observing it all. But yeah, it's been interesting.
All right, so let's bring it back to Soy Pill's point. He brought this up a little bit ago. So he argued with the cancer research. Say like 99 people aren't affected, but one person is. What does that one person do in that situation? What is your argument in that
just-
case? Do you
we'll
think we
just,
should understand?
Just streamline it. Just say the people getting unjustly laid off or something like that. Like if you ruin someone's livelihood, like and they have no recourse to do anything about it, I would expect some degree of those people to become radicalized by that. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's reasonable. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm just saying if you fuck people over directly and they have a direct line of, hey, this specific person's fucking me over. I am now homeless. I'm now poor. Maybe I'll die without a medication. XYZ. And it's like, hey, some of those people are gonna fucking want revenge. And it's like, oh yeah, like this guy's going up. He's gutting agencies in the ridiculous way. He's just taking a fucking sledgehammer to a bunch of agencies in the stupid fucking way. He's literally, promoting all these Nazis. He's going to the Germany. He's promoting the far right Nazi party. I totally understand why this is happening.
If you think it's expected and like normal, why are we seeing this just now? Because I would say that
Because
most
he's
of
being
Americans on
incredibly
both sides,
extreme about it, and it's
Well,
unprecedented
sure, but I
how
would argue-
stupidly blatant he is. So
Sure, but I would argue that most people on both sides of the political aisle would argue that for decades our government's been ripping us off. They've been insider trading. They've been laundering our tax dollars. Like we've been
yeah,
getting,
and as much as a
we've been getting ripped
libertarian
off,
complains
getting
about
overtaxed,
taxation being
like-
theft, unfortunately, most of the time their livelihood doesn't actually diminish.
But
all
do you think
much,
that like
so.
what Elon's done has had more of an impact on your personal life than like the level of taxation that we're suffering from right now
Yes,
under our government?
yes.
Really?
Yeah,
Probably.
I have tons of family members right now that are losing their jobs in government for dumb bullshit reasons. I have friends of family members being deported. I have friends of family members who can't get their passport because of dumb regulations they're implementing. Yeah, it's much worse this time.
But are you arguing we should consider them when we're talking about government tax-paying like jobs? Because if not, then why don't we always hire more people? Because then more people have jobs. It's just good.
No,
we're talking
I'm
about the government.
talking
You're not
about
entitled
people's
to that position.
livelihoods getting fucked over
Right,
for a
but
dumb bullshit
if you're
reason.
getting fired, That happens in the private market as well. It doesn't happen just in government.
Okay, and
if you're getting
if
fired and you're
the
like,
CEO,
oh, I'm entitled to this
if
federal
I'm
job,
not
I have this
saying
cushy
anyone
job,
is
200K
entitled
a
to
year,
this is
I'm getting
ridiculous.
radicalized
Hold on,
because I
no.
got fired.
I'm okay. You got to listen. Either look, if you don't repeat back what I'm saying in a way that makes any remote sense, you're clearly not listening to me. Look, if you're in Amazon and the CEO of Amazon just said, "Hey, fuck 80% of these people. I'm just going to arbitrarily come into your warehouse and just fire you for no fucking reason without any notice, and maybe even violate labor laws to do it," I would expect some degree of those people to be radicalized by that, especially if they lose their ability to pay for their health insurance, to pay for their home, if they're going to become homeless. I'm not saying that they're entitled to those jobs. I'm saying if you come in and you do some stupid bullshit, you're going to radicalize some people.
And also, like Phil mentioned, this stuff is unprecedented. Like, we've been getting taxed at what you think is an absurdly high rate. It's actually not that high rate for a while now. People aren't used to what's going on with fucking Doge right now.
So my first question is,
raise taxes.
First, what Doge is doing is just the audit. They're not actually like doing anything. They don't have authority to do so based on.
That's in dispute right now. You know that's in dispute right now. It's not.
I saw the update of it the other day.
Aren't pending court cases about Doge firings?
I've been watching Tanya Chuck cover it. They're trying right now, and there was a ruling, I think this morning, where a judge was saying that they can't sue for that.
Can we not play this game? We know it's Elon Musk is spreading these initiatives. Like, it doesn't matter if it's this organization or this specific thing is the one doing it.
It isn't Elon Musk.
Hold on. Let Tyler finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying is the game here is what you're playing, and I'm telling you the reality of the situation is he's not even the head of the department he's in, let alone has zero authority to actually do any of these things.
They talk out of both sides of their fucking mouth about this shit, dude. It's ridiculous.
I'll fight you on this one as the Republican. Come on. We all know that he's the genie behind the curtain. Like that. Like, don't act like that's.
He's doing it.
Okay, so all right. I hate this argument because as a Republican, I'd rather argue about the meat of things. Whenever we're sitting here going, Sally's actually in charge of Doge, when we know that it's he's pulling the strings. I don't agree with the statement that he's the one cutting it. I think he's doing the audit stuff. But I don't think it's fair to say he's not the one running it. Do you really think he's not the one giving I can't even think of the girl's name that's actually supposed to be in charge of Doge.
Absolutely not. So that's just my first one. The second point I wanted to get to as well, but the first point is absolutely he's not. The person that's running it is Trump, the person that campaigned on running on cutting the size of government, saying it's inefficient and overbloated. Not just saying, fuck this stupid shit, I want to cut 80% of jobs like it was proposed earlier. But he actually came in.
Trump is Elon has any sort of influence over that, though?
Yeah, what do you think Elon's doing?
He has some influence. I can give you guys multiple examples of things that Elon Musk has recommended Trump cut that he said no to.
Sure, so, I agree. Well, hold on. I've made this argument before on these several panels, is that it's a lot of times people say they don't like unelected bureaucrat, or they don't like what's the checks and balances. Like, here's the thing. It's not that there's no checks and balances or unelected bureaucrat. It's that y'all don't like the check, and then the check is Trump. Like, so Elon comes in, him and whoever is actually running it, are going to give him his audits, and Trump's going to go yes or no, and that's the check and balance. And people don't like that they're in cahoots. Like,
the check is Congress who approves the funding, which they're going around, even though they have control of both the House and the Senate, and could just pass a thing that says, "Hey, you should spend it differently." That's the check that they're avoiding.
They could actually, yes, Congress.
They could and they should, and I would have just a policy problem instead of a constitutional problem with the way they were doing it. If that's how they did it, I would much prefer they did it that way.
If Congress was much more specific with how the money would be spent, then we would see the challenges to impoundment that Trump is trying to work on right now probably much sooner. But a lot of what Elon Musk is actually doing is only in the discretionary spending. The mandatory spending is only recommendations that have to be cut out budgetarily. There's people in the House right now trying to write that budget up using the recommendations Elon Musk put for these departments that they can't actually cut from the executive level. So, I mean, if you look at this shit, they're actually looking at his suggestion. And that's it.
You agree with that, Pentuple?
I mean, that's my understanding of Doge as well.
All right. What about these reports where we say he actually did try to fire people from the Department of, what was it?
I don't know. I'd be like, would everyone agree with firing these people? Like, what people are we talking about?
Well, obviously not.
Like, we're just mad at Elon because Elon said it, or like, what is the actual statement that's being made?
Cuts
like,
to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Medicare and Social Security, not Medicaid. It's Medicare, Social Security that Elon was proposing to Trump and firing people, and he said absolute no on that. We're not touching it. Those are just off the top of my head
Well, that
examples.
makes sense because those are very
well,
politically popular.
absolutely.
programs.
I think there's a lot of
Absolutely.
waste and fraud. I don't think we should lower the actual like legally established benefits that anyone's getting. Anyone who, it's like kind of like voting. It's like we're not trying to stop anyone from legally voting. We just want to stop people who aren't eligible from voting.
Did you
it's
miss
a very
last
simple
debate?
concept.
Wait, Pentuple, what percent of Social Security spending do you think is waste, fraud, or abuse?
No idea.
All
But it's not zero.
No
You think
idea.
it's zero?
Every single dollar.
That's
You think it's zero?
You're dumb, anti-welfare, libertarian.
Do you think
and
it's
let old
zero?
people starve.
Do you think it's zero?
No.
Okay, then it's not zero. What does that mean?
Wow. I think it's under 2%, and it's absurd. What they're trying to do.
2%? Okay, 2% of what? That's a percentage. What's the raw
It's
number?
under
How much
2%.
of
It's
how much
probably
money
really
is it?
Less than 1%, but I don't-
Okay,
not-
1% of
mean,
what number?
it's
Is it
not a
100
ton.
million? 10 million? 5 million?
I don't know
What's the
why
number?
you're just
Percentage
looking at
means
the
nothing to me.
nominal and not the percent.
Because the percentage means
infinitely
nothing.
more.
Percentage could be
What do you mean
anywhere
the-
from
Percentage
5 million,
means
20 million?
nothing?
What's the number?
Why does the
it
raw
doesn't mean
matter?
anything on its own.
Doesn't-
What is the raw number?
Doesn't it kind of speak to whether or not the organization is efficient, depending on how much percentage it's wasting, not
Sure.
based on what the
What
raw
level
number
of-
is?
Right?
What level of fraud and waste do you accept when we're talking about taxpayer government?
It depends
What
on
level
how
of fraud and waste
depends-
do you think we should
program is.
expect?
Yeah,
If the program is really beneficial.
You
but
think we
has
have, like, a
5%
target
waste,
2%?
that's
This is
we're
probably
fine.
this is
net benefit.
this is retarded. If we spent $1 trillion on Social Security and 1% of that was fraud, I wouldn't care that, or I would care that $10
What's
trillion
1% of a trillion?
Huh? What's 1% of a
What's
trillion?
1% of a trillion?
10 billion?
How fucking dumb this is, right?
Holy
Hey,
shit.
Pentuple, if I'm assessing
Wow.
whether a program is like a net benefit or not,
10 billion.
I don't really care. I don't really care like the
Aren't you the
nominal
same people
amount
that
of
argue we
waste,
need to
fraud,
just
or
tax
abuse.
billionaires more? It would be a miracle
So
to get
true,
10
buddy.
billion
That's
out
exactly-
of.
yeah, you
It would
have
be a
really good
miracle to
understanding
get
of
10
my
billion
tax
in
policy,
taxes
Pentuple.
out of a
Pentuple, yes, you
billionaire.
have a really,
Yet it's
really good
nothing
understanding
when
of
we're
my
talking
tax
What
about
if-
wage
what if-
fraud.
Wait,
Wait, yeah,
non-fun,
let's go-
non-fun.
I know,
Let's
yeah,
go-
wait, just to be clear. when
Yeah,
I'm
non-fun, go
evaluating
ahead.
whether something is efficient or whether something is a net benefit. I don't care about the nominal, like, not even inflation.
Clearly, I know you don't, because you don't understand how it works. You don't.
Hold on,
don't
let-
care.
First of all, if anyone doesn't understand, it's
a
you.
small percentage.
You put some money into this program, it's going to be
Hold on,
wasted.
hold on,
I don't care
hold on.
like the nominal dollar. I care about what.
Yeah, if $990 billion were
Yeah,
helping
you care
people,
about
but
the
10
wrong
billion of
things,
it would waste,
obviously.
you're fucking retarded if you think we should cut the whole fucking program. Like,
Well,
yeah, the 10 billion
that's not
matters.
what
I think we
said.
should
Nobody
fix it.
said we should
Yeah,
cut
you
the
haven't
whole
said
program.
anything
I said we
intelligent.
should
I'm sorry
cut
for
the
even
waste.
attributing an argument to
1%
you.
or 10%. I think that's a reasonable standard. We shouldn't want any waste. If it's 1%, if it's 10%, if it's 50%, we should cut that
Wait,
fraud and waste.
is your
out.
argument
You
that
admit
waste
it's
is
a
bad?
zero.
Wait,
I'm
is your
telling you, we
argument
should
is your
go
argument that
after it.
waste is bad?
Let me get some control
Yeah,
here.
waste.
Whoa! Okay, hold on. Bridge built, guys. We agree.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
That's
okay.
exactly it. That's why we would like to audit it so that we know how much is being wasted.
Okay,
Exactly.
wait, hold on. Whoa. Wait.
We need to actually stop the waste instead of just know how much we're wasting.
All right, we're gonna just mute everybody.
Wasting 1%.
We're doing that. All right, okay. It's always already quiet. All right, we're back. Shh. 1 second. Nobody can hear you. 1 second. 1 second. I'm taking control back. All right. Because I was interested, and I want to go to Tyler, but I want to continue this real quick. So here's what we're gonna do. He said audit, and then everybody exploded. So here's how we're gonna do this. We're gonna go to Soy Pill. I'm gonna go to Nava. Then we're gonna go to Tyler, and y'all aren't gonna interrupt Tyler. And then Pentuple, you can get in there afterwards. And Drew, if you want to get in there, just raise your hand. All right. All right. Perfect. So that's what we're doing. We're going to Soy, non-fly, because they both objected to the audit thing. And then we're going to Tyler, and then we'll go to you, Pentuple. So I know you're gonna want to rage at something somebody says in the near future, but let's let everybody go so we can hear the full argument that you're gonna hate the most. All right, because it's always Billy Mays, but wait, there's more. All right, go ahead, Soy.
Oh, I'm not mad. I'm reveling in the fact that my enemies are this dumb, that the arguments they make are, oh, well, 1% of it is waste, but I really care about what the total budget is and not the effectiveness of the program and whether or not we should cut it. Yeah, waste is bad. If that's your argument position, cool, we agree. I don't think there's much else to say about that. If it was $1,000 was the budget of the Social Security and 1% of that was waste, I would also think that is, still a very good program. And also, the waste would be a lot less relevant to cut. I understand that $10 billion is a lot of money. Social Security is a huge fucking benefit. It keeps 22 million people out of poverty, 17 million of which Gibbs is okay with dying from last debate. But I think it's really good, and there's some fraud and waste. It's not that big of a deal.
Non-pod.
Yeah, the reason I know how much waste there is in Social Security is because it's already been audited. And unlike Doge, the people who audit actually know what the fuck they're doing. So rather than saying like a million, bajillion, quadrillion dead people are on Social Security, they say this is the number of people who are dead on Social Security. 98% of them don't collect benefits. We know the reason because, again, the audit states the reason. A lot of times they don't have electronic death records for these people. And guess what? To go through the Social Security database and get rid of the dead people would cost millions of dollars to do. And that's might not be worth it because the money we save from 2% of like 60,000 people collecting this money is not worth the is not worth the cost of going through this database. Like there are actual real cost benefit analyses and reasons that these things happen that the people who actually audit it every year do, or I think it's every 2 years, do. Doge doesn't do that. They just lie on Twitter.
But what does Big Balls think?
Hold on.
Okay.
Tyler's gonna go. Then we're gonna go Pentuple and Drew. All right, go ahead.
All right,
We'll
I
open
was
up
going to
again.
spit some facts here. First, Pentuple, you're first. So, what you're doing here is similar to what the anti-capitalists do. They say everything's not perfect, so let's throw the entire baby out with the bathwater. What
I didn't say that. You're strong.
Hold on. What we had when the greatest president ever, Bill Clinton, was in office was
here we go.
it was welfare reform. What he did was pass it on to the states, let the states do their own versions of reform, and we saw fraud on these entitlement programs drop to the current levels of below 2% where it is today. Praise Bill Clinton. So going into that point, what Doge is actually doing, what Navfon started to allude to, is yes, we have all these people on the records and probably not receiving money, but the fact that we're still using paper records in a fucking silo in the middle of Pennsylvania shows us how inefficient and behind government is and how much Doge is needed. What they're doing, I linked an interview in the group chat the other day with the Doge and the NIH. They have 48 departments. In each of those departments, they have their own HR team. They have their own IT team. None of them are communicating with each other. So what they're doing is they're instantiating one or two big IT teams, firing 2/3 of those employees that are no longer needed. And if that's the type of efficiency that they're doing, that's the exact thing that Trump ran on and got elected on. So I'd say they're doing their job, at least in the NIH, pretty good too.
At all? That's everything? Oh, you said that was Pentuple. Okay, cool.
Oh, that's
Ben.
not everyone. That was it. Just started with
Go ahead.
Pentuple.
Ben, then Drew, and then we'll let y'all fight again. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't have anything to add right here.
All right, Drew.
Platinum got me. God damn it.
Yeah, so Phil, I know you had mentioned that some of your family had gotten fired from their jobs. Like, can you just kind of give us an idea of what those jobs were that they got fired from?
I don't want to name specific jobs, but I have people that work for, DoD, NavAir, NavSea, who are subject to these ridiculous, stupid policies that are, ostensibly to make things more efficient, but very obviously meant to cut government, spending for employees that, may or may not be doing an amazing job. Obviously, I'm biased. I think my family's doing good. One of them is getting fired because she has worked out of state for things, and well, she can't return to office because she lives 500, 600 miles away. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm doing a great job remotely. Why the fuck are you implicating this incredibly stupid thing? Oh, so we can fire everyone who can't make it. Another one is, didn't respond to the email that said 5 points because he got a directive not to respond to it from his boss. Then a week later, now he's on the chopping block and he's going to get, kicked the fuck off because he didn't answer the stupid fucking email that is just an arbitrary reason to cut people. I mean, we look at what Doge was saying before Trump got elected. I mean, Ramaswamy was literally saying, hey, what if we just, Thanos'd half of all federal employees and said, if you have an odd social security number, get fucked, you're out, right? Like, they just want to cut arbitrarily. They're not looking at, hey, who's doing a good job, who's not, who is providing the most for the company, who is showing up to work. Like, they don't give a fuck about this sort of stuff. They just want to privatize everything, and that's why they're gutting it, and it's stupid.
Well, to be fair, I'm not a fan of Ramaswamy either. I don't like Ramaswamy, but also,
why
is the email directive that you were talking about, is that the email that was like, give me
five things you did this week? Yeah, that stupid fucking thing.
What's so bad about answering that though?
Well, hold on.
There's nothing in principle. There's nothing bad about it.
Soybean brought up a good point though, right? Whatever he says. This is actually something I might have to take an umbrage with. Is okay. Elon sent this out, right? Or whoever, somebody sent it out, and then his department head said, "Don't do it," because I run my department. And then if you're fired for not doing it, and your boss told you not to do it, I'd be pretty fucking pissed off. Like, right? Like, would you be mad? Like, if your direct boss for your department was like, no. And then, like, some other guy from a different department was like, yeah, you're fired now because of that. Like, I think I'd be kind of mad. Would you be mad, Drew, or Ben? What would, like...
Yeah, of course. But, like, it's also, like, is that how we're gonna make our decisions? Like, because everyone who gets fired is gonna be mad, no matter where you're fired from, no matter what your job is. Like, it sucks to get fired, but like that's not the basis we're making these decisions on. I would say it's like it sucks.
No,
like,
I got laid off from a company because our company was going insolvent, and I was not mad. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But when I would get fired because some dipshits came in and said, "Hey, everyone, here's this arbitrary goal that I want you all to meet,"
argue,
yeah, I'd be pretty fucking pissed. And I
would
expect some degree of those people.
But again, it was just the 5 like it's not like it's anything insane. It was just like
it's not about it is not about, first of all, some people do one thing every week and they do it really well. But second of all, the idea is not to, hey, I actually want to see what you're doing. It's, hey, I'm going to do this arbitrary dumb thing that I know not 100% of people are going to go for, especially when they're directed not to, because it's coming down 7 or 8 degrees from like your direct boss. And it's like, who the fuck, like, he's not looking at all of these. Who's looking at all these? They're probably feeding it to an AI. Yeah, it's because it's like, hey, this dumb thing now I can use to justify firing people that otherwise are doing an amazing job. But oops, they missed this one email. Maybe they're on vacation that day. Get fucked. It's just a very transparent actually way of getting rid of people for no good reason. In the same way they wanted to Thanos half of everyone. So
hold on, the miss the email thing, I'm not as sympathetic to, because I mean, I've been all over the world. And I get, like I said, I mean, even in like third world countries, when I was in Belize, I was doing work emails in like the rainforest, right? Like, so you're telling me you can't respond to an email on your phone with 5 things?
That's not what I said at all, actually. I didn't say that.
Right,
I didn't say it's actually not a particularly onerous thing, a task in and of itself to write 5 bullet points.
Right. So I guess the point I'm making is, because I guess you alluded to it. I don't want to like put words in your mouth. That's not what I'm trying to do. You said you missed work one day, or you're on vacation, you missed that email. Like, I feel like if you're at a government job with a salary, isn't part of a salary that you answer to emails? I mean, I feel like that's a pretty normal
Not when
business.
you're on the clock. That's literally how it works. When you're on vacation, you don't have to work. And yeah, it's stupid that you come in and say, hey, here's this directive. I invented it on Tuesday. It's going out on Friday. If you don't answer this, you're on the chopping block. It's fucking retarded. But hey, it's not stupid. They know what they're doing. It's not to actually check in on. They don't give a fuck what every federal employee is. All like what millions and millions of people, the biggest job employer of the country is doing. They're not reading these 5 points. It's just a way to justify firing them, and it's stupid. That's why it's an asshole move. And I don't know if you've ever had a job. I've had jobs where they do this, by the way, and it's not like, oh, it's so hard for me to say what I did this week. It's just like, go fuck yourself, dude. I'm working, and if you're like doing this dumb fucking looking over my shoulder thing every 10 seconds, you're making me feel like I'm in a prison.
Yeah, I don't like micromanagement either. But let me go to you, Non-Fod. Do you agree with that statement? If you're like, because I just brought up the salary thing. Do you agree, like, you're a salary from a government employee, that you shouldn't have to answer an email, a work email, if you're on vacation or something? Is that like a thing you're totally
I'm sure
against?
there's exceptions to that for like national security jobs or whatever.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not trying to do a gotcha or something. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, say you're like, I don't know, Bob at the TPS reports office place, whatever. Like, and you got the email on Tuesday and you're out of work. I mean, do you not check your work email when you're like?
Guys, he has a this guy in the middle, Pentuple, has a Black and Beautiful pillow. I just saw it now that he's moved. That's fucking hilarious.
Sure.
I think a lot of day-to-day civil servant job is not going to require it. But I mean, I agree with Soy. The issue is not so much that like they just have to reply to the email. It's that like, is this email just being used as basically an excuse to fire government workers? Which, by the way, they openly just want to get rid of a lot of these civil servants anyway. So like.
They openly stated that in the cabinet meeting that under President Biden, the Department of Energy grew 20% in terms of spending and size of their workforce, and they want to downsize that entire 20% back. So yeah, absolutely, they're stating that as their goals.
So let me ask.
By your logics and arguments, why don't we just hire another 12,000 people? They'll all do an amazing job. They'll all have a livelihood. They'll all be happy.
Everybody.
Wait, real quick. Pentuple, wait. Can I ask, Pentuple, can you based on what you just said, can you explain exactly what my response to that would be? Like, why I would or would not advocate for that? I'm really curious.
So, I mean, you're suggesting we shouldn't downsize because these people are good at their job or because they'll be super upset or anything like that. It's like, all right, well, why don't we just flip that in the reverse and say, why don't we hire 5,000 more people? Because then we can give them that thing that we can't take away from them. Like, you're saying we have to protect this risk group.
I got you.
This is the thing that we're now accounting for in the decision, right?
I got you. No, I just
diminishing return.
Right. No, I got you 100%. So this, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, and I think it's like a good faith. Like, you just maybe I didn't articulate this well enough. I'm not saying we shouldn't fire people. I'm not saying that there isn't fraud and waste. I have worked in the government. I worked for like the UC Berkeley like contracted national lab. There's people that just don't fucking show up to work. There's people that like scale the fuck up. And I'm saying if you want to make it more efficient, the way you do that is not arbitrarily firing firing people for some dumb bullshit reason, you audit,
That's
you see
what
what these people are doing, and the one way of not doing that is asking what they did, because obviously someone slacking the fuck off is going to be able to sandbag 5 points into an email. That's not like a justification for firing them. It's a terrible way to audit, and you look at what Elon's doing, that's
Right.
not his intended goal. So that's all I'm saying. Also, do
But
you
when we're
have a
talking
black
about-
wife? Because your pillow is black and beautiful, and you don't look very black to me, but I'm just curious.
Yes, but what look, the point is, when we're
Don't dox him.
downsizing,
Don't
we
dox
are
him.
going to fire some people that are doing a good job. Like, because the point is that we're making this decision based on other factors, right? Like, we don't need 12,000 people in this department. We need 8,000. So 4,000 are going to let go. They might all be doing a great job, which is why I'm saying if we flip this on the reverse, what if we said, oh, we could hire these 4,000 people? They'll all do an amazing job. Why don't we just hire them? But then when we account for that, we might be like, we don't need to hire
If
4,000
we
more
need to
people.
cut to save money, I'm
necessary.
not arguing against the idea of saving money, but you understand that the way they're
Right.
doing this is not efficient. They're
Yeah.
coming in and they're firing
No, I know, but when you're
everyone
saying
in the
wait, wait, wait,
Ebola
wait,
response
people who are
team.
doing their
it's
job
literally
well.
like it's so easy. Like, I think there are a lot of firings that Trump and Doge have done that are not net benefits. They are not on net good. I think there are a lot of governments that or probably agencies that would be on net good to downsize, in which case I would support downsizing these agencies. Also, I think there are agencies that it would be on net good if we did increase spending of them and did hire more people. Like, I like doing what's a net benefit. I don't like doing something that's not a net benefit. Obviously, hiring literally everyone is probably not going to be a net benefit, but there are probably agencies that need expanding.
I agree with Non-Fon. Good things are good and bad things are bad.
This is
So
true.
I guess let me ask this then. This is because I haven't really heard an answer to this. I've heard, I mean, y'all have kind of alluded to it, but on the right, I know the argument has been, we want it to reduce the government in general, right? And so I also think they should be done more efficiently. But whenever you promise and campaign on sweeping change, right, and then get elected with what seems to be kind of a mandate, based off you win the House, you win the Senate, you win the presidency, and you've promised sweeping change, and you promised it in a hurry. What is an alternative? Because it seems like a lot of crime, but there's no alternative. Y'all are saying we should audit this way. It seems like the Kevin O'Leary kind of like thing where he's like, okay, in my company, sometimes you fire people, you may realize you make a mistake, and then you go and rehire them back at market rate, but you clean it out. The same thing with the Twitter story where
when the agencies who are doing
all-
this are in control of our nuclear facilities, in control of our Ebola response team, and or the USDA, yeah, I don't think you should do the business practice. And by the way, I've worked for an Elon company. His practices work insofar as his companies succeed, but if you come in and you just fucking fire everyone, if you work everyone to the bone 80 hours a week and pay them below average market rates for engineers, you're going to have an inefficient workforce that's unmotivated, and it's either filled with loyalists or people that quit after 2 years and eventually going to run out of fucking people. And so yeah, I agree, if you are promise expedient change that's going to make the country less wasteful and more efficient, you should find a way to do that. And the way you do that is not going and firing people, realizing you fucked up, and then not being able to rehire them because they got rid of their government emails. He's a fucking moron. He's taking a sledgehammer to try to put a fucking thread through a needle, and it's just dumb. There are better ways to do this that aren't just unilaterally doing these cuts. It's stupid.
What percent of the federal workforce out of the executive branch do you think they've fired out of the departments that they're already finished with?
Not very much, because USAID is pretty less than 1%.
Yeah, it's less than 1% of the departments he's fired people, and most of the rehires, there have been some rehires because they fired with the nuclear thing. They had to rehire people that were actually experts. Most of the rehires have been court-ordered rehires because he's trying to challenge a case called Humphrey's Executor, which is from a government agent that named Humphrey that was fired, died. His executor sued the government and got 5 months of back pay because he was improperly fired. And that sets the grounds for government firings from the federal branch. So he has directly stated he's trying to run this up to the Supreme Court. So that firing might actually be his intent behind this. Not suggesting 4D chess. I don't think Trump's smart. But that might be something someone suggested to him, is overfire intentionally so we can get challenged.
Pentupler, are you arguing with your black wife right now? You're muted.
No, sorry. No, I was ranting at my chat because Tyler did the thing that I don't know how to describe my frustration with this, but when he says 2%, I'm like, I don't. This provides no information to me on its own. Is that? Yeah, because it's not enough information by itself.
It's
there's so many questions immediately. Let
me try to build a bridge here, because I think I understand what you're trying to say. I think he's right. Whenever I go, yeah, he saved 1% of the national spending. or something. I'm just making something up. And it's like, cool. What the fuck does that mean? Well, is that like, oh, he saved us $1,000, and it's like 1% of 1,000? Is it, oh, is it $350 billion? You saved us 1% of that. That's a lot bigger number. Like, I think it's like when you just use this like 2% out of context. Oh, I say like he's only cut 1% of government jobs. Well, what the fuck does that mean? How
That
many
sounds
jobs
like a
is
lot.
that? Like,
I agree.
sounds
I mean,
yeah, like
It just doesn't give any sort of scale.
agree.
That's
The
why, I
only
don't know.
reason
It's
it
not a
make-
personal thing.
Yeah,
I
no,
just,
no, no.
I like don't know
The
how
only
to
reason,
wrap my mind
the only
around it.
reason it makes sense is because I was building off the context of what he was saying. He was saying they're taking an axe to these departments and gutting massive amounts of people. When you look at it, they haven't even cut 1% of
Well,
these.
so what is 1%?
well,
So what?
hold
Okay,
on,
you say 1%. What is that number? What
Because
is it,
it's
like,
useful
total
for a
number?
relative
I-
positioning for
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
look
so
at
you
it.
said, well, okay, so you
As
can,
of-
that's his point right there. You're like, oh, it's
As
1%
of-
of his total number. Well, you don't even know what that number is. You're
Yeah,
just giving me
well,
the 1%. Like,
the Department of Treasury has terminated 7,600 people as of last week, according to Reuters. And say on the same page, Department of Agriculture 5,700. HIS is talking about the people that they've cut recently because they have Doge in there right now, and it's mostly redundancies. Again, they have
Yeah, but get this,
48.
Tyler. I don't
Okay,
care
it's
about the
over
raw
100%.
numbers.
Okay, here's the answer.
I
Here's
care
the
about the
answer. Yeah, over
functions that they're
100K.
getting rid of. I care if USAID had 2 employees and they get rid of it and we're destroying our soft power. I would be upset. They're trying to get rid of the Department of Education. I think that's like one of the smallest. It's like what 2,400, maybe 4,200. It's not that many, and I'm still upset by the firings. It's not about the quantity wise. It's about what the functions that they're dismantling, how they're dismantling it. It's clearly inefficient. It's clearly not done with any sort of care. He does not know what these things do. He demonstrates this time and time again when he tweets about, hey, like Reuters is giving money to or the government's giving money to Reuters to subvert, intelligence or spread propaganda because he can't fucking read the note. Like, it's just ridiculous shit like this where this man is just a fucking moron. Like, I'm sorry.
What functions of the Department of Education are going away though? Because I don't see any of the functions going away. I see
That
them
remains to
being
be
transferred.
seen. Apparently, allegedly, they're saying we're just going to transfer them, which is a very weird argument to me because if you're saying, hey, we're going to let the Department of Justice handle the civil rights enforcement, we're going to let the Treasury handle Title I and disabled function, then why do you need to fire these people? Because ostensibly, the reason it was even made in the first place by Jimmy Carter is that he wanted to consolidate all of these different departments doing all of these different things and make sure the communication between them was more efficient. So if you're going to split all of these employees doing one thing in this one department into all of these different treasuries, making it less efficient, and if you're downsizing them, if you're firing some of these employees, why not simply downsize the Department of Education and say, hey, we don't need this many employees? It's because the actual goal of what they're trying to do, and if you look at what the Republicans have been advocating for 70 fucking years, is they want to privatize schooling. They want to get rid of public schooling. They want to defund them. They want to have school choice in the sense that they can have more religious schools, more homeschooling, and they've tried this in Arizona, and it's performed terribly. But that's their goal. Okay, so they can come out and say, hey, we're getting rid of fraud and waste. We're just splitting up the DOE, but that's very clearly not what they want, and that's not what they're doing.
You're overstating it.
By the way,
They're
the
trying to
DOE
get
is like-
rid of
Sorry,
public
the ED,
education.
excuse me, DOE is Department of Education.
They're not trying to get rid of the Department of Education. They're trying to allow for private alternatives. To
But
the
he
Department
tweeted
of public school.
ED RIP or whatever. Like, the
Yeah.
Department of Education is dead. Like, this is so fucking obvious.
Yeah,
Like, you're
I-
arguing
I-
with
I-
Elon
I-
Musk
I-
right
I-
now.
disagree.
He's
I
not
disagree
delivering.
with you on
That's
that,
the
Tyler. Hold on, Tyler. Hold on. Like, this is once again where I got to call people out. I mean, I guess you're not on my side. You're a center lefty.
Public
But,
education.
I
just want an
Well,
alternative.
let me call you in
He's
here.
the new
There's
left.
there's a
already
reason.
private schools.
There's
It's
a
not
reason why
illegal.
Lyndon McMahon got put at the head of the Department of Education.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was the,
So maybe
the
I
gut of it.
misspoke.
Like, that's what I voted for. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what
Maybe hold on. Maybe I misspoke because they want the
I mean,
Department
at
of
least
Education
hold
gone.
on, like I
They
said,
don't.
like,
What he's
that's
saying
what I
is
voted for.
they want public education gone, so that they can. That's just overstating the case. They don't want it gone.
I don't
They just want
necessarily
an
agree with that.
alternative
I don't
to
think-
it.
I don't-
No,
The
they
state-
wanted
state
to
based.
they want
That's
to
what he said.
dismantle. Yeah, no, I am saying this. They want to dismantle public education as it exists. They do not give a shit about it. They want things to be school vouchers, and that's going to push it in a way that people can choose schools that don't get chosen because they are in areas that might not get as much funding and won't get as much funding that will be made up because of the Department of Education will collapse and be dismantled. This is already happening. Schools are closing all across Arizona. They want to leave the people that are less well off behind in the same way that Gibbs might want to let 17 million seniors die because they want to get rid of Social Security. Like, that's just what they're advocating for. I'm sorry.
Ooh, the seniors. I don't
Well,
like.
that's-
Listen, base. I'm saying, like, listen. I'm tired of them taking my tax. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, if the Department of Education was this giant sacred thing that we should have protected, then they shouldn't have abused it with the Title IX overreaches that they did time and time again. One of them where it resulted in hundreds of lawsuits of men kicked out of college for Title IX infractions that didn't violate the law. It ended up violating the men's civil rights because they were accused and kicked out because of rape they never committed.
Do you think we should get rid of the entire military?
No, and the same thing.
Well,
with, like, transgender shit, like,
no, because the military, they did this like one thing one time wrong, and I think we should just dismantle the entire thing because they, they did like the black
Department
bloc.
of Education's only been around for like a couple decades. I think it came out 81, 80 is when it came out.
Oh,
It
okay. So
hasn't been around
the
very
existing,
long.
well, Doge is fucking up a lot. Do you think we should get rid of Doge?
I
They've
don't
only
think
been
Doge
around
is
2
fucking up
months.
anything.
They,
I don't think
not
Doge
a
is
single
fucking up
thing. You don't think
anything.
they
They
fucked
don't
up with firing the nuclear engineers?
No, because they don't have the power to fire. They fucked up maybe the recommendation. That's
How
it.
are
They
you
don't have
center
the power to
left?
do it.
I mean, that's still a fuck
Because
up
I
then, but-
adhere to the Constitution. The Doge has no power. A guy that works for Doge has no power. Like, just saying that Elon Musk can
man.
snap his fingers and Trump's going to do whatever
Oh,
it is.
my
It's a
God.
partisan political narrative that doesn't have any place in reality.
I need my
Like, you
clown
might do good
makeup.
on Twitch, but like in the real world, these narratives get.
I'm not on
laughed off
Twitch,
by adults.
actually.
These
You got-
narratives
yeah,
don't
that's a good
exist in
point. You
reality.
got a good point.
You can't take me seriously. I have a Pickle Rick in the background. Come on, man. I'm gonna put on my hat too.
Hey, I think
What's
you're
the
doing
hat?
great for the lefties. Yeah, we need more fire from the lefties. This is good. I like it. Y'all been getting too complacent, you righties. Y'all been
Yeah,
getting
look,
too
this is
complacent.
dark woke, all right? I'm calling you retards again. We are using ableist slurs,
woke.
you know? I'm saying the N-word
We
off
got dark,
screen.
we got gothic MAGA, we got dark woke now, bro. I like it. It's good.
Base,
We need more
whoa,
of
dude,
them.
your black wife probably has a problem with that, all right? So I would,
No, she's cool as hell, bro.
Listen, the reality,
idea.
everyone from Trump to Nancy Pelosi are all good people doing what they think is the best for the American people, and we should thank them all for their service.
can the left and the right agree that this is the most cucked of all of us right now? This, like, guy who's servile to Nancy Pelosi and Trump? Like, get the fuck out of here, buddy.
That's the truth. They're all decent human beings. Come on. They're not murdering or raping people. They're all right.
Whoa.
Well, first of all,
So the
Trump
basis for a decent human
is raping people, or should I say, penetrating with his fingers, as found by the courts. So
civilly or something, right? Not
technically,
Well,
only sexually assaulting. Excuse me. Legally, I don't know if I can
And then
say
also,
that.
there's
Sexual
other women who have
abuse.
accused him too. That's just the only one who was found. That's just the only
If-
one.
I'm just saying
if
he's
you're
been
willing
civilly
to
found
believe
lying.
E. Jean Carroll, which
Yeah,
I
it
do
really-
not
it-
believe.
I believe all women.
I do not believe
What
E.
about
Jean
Tara
Carroll.
Reid?
I reject her
I
claim.
believe that you're
and
Tara
I
Reid.
call her a liar. I say, you lie, heathen. Be gone from me.
I identify.
That's-
as
hey, that's what
woman,
she said to
Kamala
Trump.
Harris violated me.
Oh my God! Not moving on. Yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, so like, okay. Well, here's my thing then, right? So Trump ran on Doge was one of his big policies, right? Immigration. I feel like he's already accomplished more in 2 months than Biden did in the entire time he was in office, right? It's done its problem. Now, we can argue whether we like the deportation stuff, yada yada. But when we look at Doge, I see this as another campaign promise filled. Personally, I look at it. He said he was going to run this. People that voted for him, and they wanted fast change. Like, this is like what populism looks like, and that is scary sometimes. But like, what do you, if you run on something like this, how do you implement it if it's not what he's doing right now?
You
Like,
go through Congress like you're supposed to and don't violate the Constitution. Although
do
Tyler would
something
argue,
good.
yeah.
And
well,
not
you're a
bad.
lawyer. You're a lawyer, but do you think they're violating the Constitution?
By doing what? Sorry, I zoned out.
Do you think Doge is? You think Doge is violating the Constitution?
In what
No,
like
I
the
do
appointments
not.
clause viation? Like he has too much
Wait,
power
real
for
quick,
not being
couple-
appointed?
wait.
Is that what you're asking?
They're violating the Impoundment Act by not giving notice. They're violating the Constitution by firing IGs and not giving notice. They're violating the congressional Article 1 that says, or no, I'm confusing whether or not the executive power is the Article 1 or not, but the congressional power to allocate spending by going around and just saying, fuck you, Congress, I don't care that you approve the spending, I'm going to cut this. They're violating a good bajillion things.
Okay, so you're talking about Humphreys and you're talking about empowerment, but you're not talking about appointments. Like Elon Musk has more power.
No,
in his position. Okay,
that very
that's
well
all.
might be one, but I don't know whether or not the specifics.
That's the one we were
details of
discussing
that.
earlier about Judge Chunkin in DC setting up the groundwork for that. So I'm just curious as to what you meant by that.
Yeah, not that. I do not know the details of whether or not Elon's appointment is legal or not, but I don't really care. I don't like what he's doing. It's more of the actions that he and his organization, which you imply don't actually take, but it seems pretty obvious.
So, yeah. Now, or do you guys think he's in violating impoundment? I think that they intentionally are in violating impoundment so they can get it challenged. I think that's fair.
They can
Okay.
force the issue. Okay, cool. I mean, like, I'm not a lawyer. Like, I don't focus on Doge. I focus more on boring shit. But like on balance, I would say, yeah, I'd probably lean towards them violating the Impoundment Act. And even if that is just to force the issue and try to get that overturned, I think that's probably still bad. Especially like, that's just not a. First of all, it's not a power I want the president to have. I don't even know what like what Congress's role at that point would be. Like they could appropriate funds, but the president can just impound them like indefinitely and like not spend it. Like doesn't seems like it makes Congress even more of a
so why do we even have the president involved in this process? Like, if we just have, why don't we just have a congressional department do all of this spending? Like, why is the president involved if he's not supposed to have any sort of influence over it? Like, why did we involve him at all?
To have any sort of influence over it, like he does have discretion to temporarily pause funds or whatever to like if he thinks there's actual like waste, fraud, or abuse or whatever.
Well, he clearly does.
That's not a violation. I said he does. Yeah, I said he does have the power to do like.
So the violation you're arguing about, right?
Wait, but that's not a violation of the Impoundment Act.
Right.
You can defer spending. You can choose how to spend money to some limited extent, but it's not violating the Impoundment Act.
Like, yeah, you would have up to a year before the Impoundment Act was like violated, right? Wouldn't it, like, as long as like this is what I've always been curious. Maybe one of y'all can explain this to me. Big brains here, we got it. So okay, say we all agree that if they put it forward and he keeps it for a year, doesn't spend it on anything, that would be a violation of the Impoundment Act, right? Is that the general consensus here?
The violation is he didn't even go through the correct channels to notify Congress and give the memo. He just kind of did it. So
there are
so here's my question. Well, hold on. Here's my question. This is maybe a dumb hypothetical. We get back to the meat again, but I want to answer it. It's my show. So
we haven't talked about burning a Tesla in like an hour. I just want to say.
I know, right? Well, listen, that's okay because we're moving. It's good. This is good. So my question is, right? Say with the Impoundment Act or whatever, or say we got Trump goes, hey, we need to cure cancer. Congress goes, here's the money for cancer, and it's like, let's say it's $1 billion, but for $500 million, somehow they cure cancer. Now, what do we do with the other $500 million? Is it violating the Impoundment Act if it doesn't get spent on curing cancer? Are we just going to waste another $500 billion even though it's already cured? Like, what do we like? What's the rule then in that situation?
Are you? Oh, go ahead.
This is pure hypothetical thought exercise.
It's up to the president's interpretation how to, and this is something Nonfon just said he's not in favor of. So it's up to the president's interpretation of how he allocates that spending. So let's say we use $500 billion to cure cancer. That other $500 billion could be used to subsidize poor people getting the medicine. Could be to allocation. Could be to what they do in restaurants is they'll have like doctors come in and a medical a medical private group will come and advertise their medicine to them. They could fund shit like that. They could fund all sorts of ways to make this more available to the public with the rest of that money because the president can interpret how to spend that with his executive privilege.
Tyler, let's do a bridge now. He finishes the bridge. The funds are approved for some bridge project. The bridge is done, right? Like there's leftover money. It's not like a type of thing like you just described, maybe put in a different category where there's not like a clear route for the rest of the money in a related topic. So we have this leftover surplus of funds. So, like, can you just give the same analysis?
That I think is what's being challenged. I think there's I don't know much about construction.
None of that. I don't think any of that is a violation of the Impoundment Act, though, right?
It would be
like that.
It would be so that the Impoundment Act is being challenged. What happened in the past, and it was one of the reasons this was created, was Congress allocated $2 million to the president at the time to build warships against France. The president took that money and instead spent it on the Louisiana Purchase. And that was one of the major reasons. I can understand that, but I'm saying, like, take the bridge example. Like, if we build a bridge for under budget, are you saying, what would be the violation of the Impoundment Act there? Like that's not a.
Well, would Congress have to like agree
I think you send
that
they don't have Congress and they recall the funds? That's what I've been.
I'm not a fucking constitutional lawyer, man. I'm just going off of my fucking 3 legal.
Well, I guess the question is, if there's leftover
invested...
funds, is the default that it must continue to be spent, and the Congress would have to make some sort of like
okay. If you're talking about a specific agency, that money is already allocated to them. It's not, maybe a project has a specific amount of money, but if the money is in the agency, I'm 99% certain that they either roll that back into investments to pay off debts. Maybe they can give it back to Congress. Like it can be reappropriated, but like it's not like the agent, unless the agency had a goal and it stops. It's not like the agency disappears. I think it rolls over to the next year, and their budget then depends on like, hey, you clearly went under budget this time. This is how much you reported, so we will give you less funding in the next year. That's how I understand it works.
So let me just ask this real quick, because that's interesting. So let's just say the money's overspent. They got more money. So like, all right, Elon and them, they want to clean it up. They want to cut spending, yada yada, and so they have a surplus. Why wouldn't, the Elon, they proposed paying down the debt. They proposed taking this money and giving it back to taxpayers. Why would we want to like reinvest it instead of like putting it towards something else. Like, but that would violate the Impound Act, is what I understand. From what I understand,
I think
like,
the money
like,
is
why-
already allocated to that agency, and as soon as you go, like, you still have the money, even though you spent less than you needed. It's like, oh, okay, Congress can decide, let's take it back, or they can say, hey, we have this other project, it's going to need this much money, we can start putting it in there. They can pay off debts. Like, what I'm saying is, like, you're not violating the Impoundment Act by taking the money that's already been given to you and doing something other than what you said you were going to do because it went under budget. If you're still within the agency.
Doesn't that understanding leave a lot of room for fraud, though? You could just like get Congress people to
Everybody
over
gets
budget you,
bonuses.
and then
It's
you
not
get to
generally-
spend all the money, and like I mean
Hold on,
that would
because there are
maybe it
guardrails.
does.
It's not generally just
that would
one
demand a
agency.
Doge response
'Cause
after some time.
There's
that type
more
of system.
rules to this than we're suggesting, because it's not just money within the agency. Joe Biden was given a lot of money to do things on the border. What he did through DHS was create a visa program for 4 countries in South America that let in 360,000 people a year, and he bypassed Congress's authority on that. He ended up getting sued by 22 states, and the court shut it down. So he took money that was allocated for immigration and asylum and used it to make an asylum program, but because he didn't have proper authority to spend it in that direct way, they shut it down. So there are a little bit more rules to it, that just because it's in that department that they can spend it however they want. But they can,
Obviously,
it does
yeah.
carry over budget wise, like to the next year. And that's something Trump could say, like, look, we still have $1 billion sitting here. We don't need $1 billion from Congress. Take that and invest it elsewhere. That's what Gibbs you're suggesting is a political argument that the politicians need to go out and make to the people, not that we actually put into process.
But also, Tyler, $1 billion, that number doesn't really mean anything to me. What percentage of the budget of that agency was it?
I'm just
No,
I
it's
was
the
throwing a
opposite.
stupid
It's the
number out,
opposite.
yeah. I was just throwing
It's
a
the
number out.
percentages that make everything seem small. When you say 2% to 5%, I mean it's always it makes you it feels smaller. It's like to make it feel like
But
it's
it also
nothing,
makes
when in
them feel
reality
bigger, too,
it's the
like-
same
Oh,
amount of
wait,
money
wait,
that
couple,
the billionaires
couple.
need to be taxed.
Couple.
Apparently,
Okay. Well, yeah, you have a great understanding of my tax policy. True. Double. What do you think is more important, the nominal amount of debt we have, or our percentage of debt, or debt as a percentage of GDP? What do you think is more important?
you could. There's definitely conversations where they're like you're making relative comparisons and stuff. But when we're talking about like waste, fraud, and abuse, and you're like, oh, it's only 1%. $10 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse is a lot of money. That's a lot of money, no matter how you spin it. So like putting a little percentage on it to try to downplay it, like, oh, it's just a small percentage of that budget. 10 billion is 100,000% of other budgets.
You understand that
I mean, like, it's a lot of
us on
money.
how efficient
It's
the program
to
is. Like,
downplay
that
it.
informs us. That informs us at how efficient the program is. How much of this program goes to waste, fraud, and abuse? How much?
Yeah.
If I put $1 into this program, how much of that is going to be wasted? Like that. That's the relevant thing there. Not like if I put $1, like. Just knowing the nominal
well, it
amount.
depends,
means
but that's
if
not
I
what we were
spend
talking
more
about.
money, I have no clue
No,
how
but
much
it's exactly
money
what we were
actually-
talking about, Pentubble, because you're trying to assess
No,
the
we were
efficient.
talking
You're
about
trying
how
to assess
much money was being wasted.
Right.
And you guys were like, oh, it's only 1%. It's like less than 1%, but it's $10 billion. So you're going to say it's not a big deal that we're wasting $10 billion?
Yes, because
program
we're
overall
because
is
of the
pretty
program. Yeah,
And there you go. This is
Yes.
why you guys aren't in charge anymore. This is why you guys are going to lose elections.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
dipshits
yeah.
like you don't understand how numbers
Please.
work. I'm sorry.
Please. Go ahead and make this argument.
Wait, Pentubble. Please tell me that you do in fact think that the percentage of money that goes to waste, fraud, and abuse in any given program, that is an indicator at least of how efficient that program is, generally speaking.
Well, okay. So let me just
Generally speaking,
No,
yeah.
no, I need Pentubble to fucking answer this fucking
that's
question.
fine, but I
You're
had a
not
question.
even on the same page as me. And
No.
Wait,
I promise you,
hold on.
you and I are
Alright,
not on the
look,
same
look,
page. Me and
when you
Non-Fun
say
are.
when you say 2% and it's $10 billion, you're suggesting this is not a big deal. It's not $10 billion.
Hold on.
We are using it as a measure.
That's what I'm saying. You're playing in
trying to
purpose
figure out
game
how
to make it
efficient a
relatively
program
small. When in reality, the same people that are arguing we need to just tax billionaires more would be dreaming to get the
that's like
same
tax
10
policy,
billion out of
exactly.
any billionaire in tax.
Can I ask
So
a
it's
question?
just
Can I
like
ask
you
you a
can
question?
switch models. When we're talking about taxing billionaires, it's a ton of money. And
We're getting control again. I'm getting control. All right, sorry. Sorry. I hate muting people, but I'm taking over. I'm taking control. You picked up, you're muted. I can't hear you. All right, so he's still going. All right, whatever.
He's still going.
Hey, I'm ranting. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna get my thing in here. I got questions. All right, so this listen. what Pentemple's saying, and then I'm gonna let you respond as non-fog, and then I'll go to Tyler and then Stoy.
It's not that hard to understand.
Is this right? What he said?
Pentemple, we understand what you're saying.
Well, so just
Do you understand what you're saying?
Well, hold on, stop.
You don't.
Stop.
No, you guys are like,
God damn it.
you're fixing the numbers to be relative to make your point, which is not the point that you were making earlier.
Wait,
hold on.
Gibbs, can I try one good faith question? One good faith question, okay? Like complete.
Sure.
I think this might clear things up because this is. I mean this sincerely, okay? When we are assessing how efficient something is, right? If I said that 50% of Social Security money was stolen every year, and it's the people like don't deserve it, and they're going and they're spending it on Bugattis or whatever. If Social Security had a budget of $500, in the grand scheme of things, $250 is not that much waste in government. I understand that 10 billion is a big number, but what we're saying is, if I'm assessing the efficiency of Social Security, and I say 99% of Social Security is used effectively, that is a measure of how effective it is.
Hold on.
Sure, we
You're
could
assuming-
cut out that $10
Hold on,
billion,
Pentemple.
and that
Hold on,
does
I'm gonna
matter. We're just saying that this is an effective program. That's it.
Right, but you're suggesting that the margin of error doesn't change when you grow to scale.
No, we're not.
You're suggesting that it's acceptable. When you have a $500 budget, it might be acceptable to have this much fraud and abuse in there because
right.
You're right.
No, I'm agreeing. Let me agree.
But
Gibbs.
that's why the percentage doesn't tell me anything.
But
That's because what
it
you
tells
just said,
you.
if it was 50% in that example, that doesn't tell me anything.
It tells you how
Just like
effective
it
the
said,
program
that's why
is. It's
2%
very
doesn't mean
inefficient.
anything.
We're doing this
So
to
you just
measure.
proved my point.
We're using this to measure the effectiveness of a program. And if I tell you that 99% of your dollars, if it was a $100 budget and 99 of those dollars are going to go and be effective, you would say that's a good program. $1 is not a lot of waste.
It
10
depends
billion,
on the scale.
10 billion. No, hold on. 10 billion is a big waste.
I
No,
would
it
not
does.
say 99% is okay at scale.
All right,
No,
let's
that's what I'm saying. $10 billion is never acceptable at any scale.
Here, let him finish. I'm going to say
you would
something,
not
you can talk.
impose
Hold on, go ahead.
that.
Let's
No one,
finish.
yeah. So no one is
I wanna say
contesting.
something out here after this.
I don't think anyone is contesting. Non-Fon, I promise you, Non-Fon is smart enough to understand that yes, 10 billion is a lot of dollars, and it's not good that $10 billion are wasted. We are just saying that if we are talking about the efficiency, no one is going to use the metric of, hey, if your program is not 99.99% efficient of Social Security, it is not worth,
Do you think if one?
Hold on. No, Pentable. Wait. All right. I got.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I want to go after him. So here's my question. I think this is maybe going to illustrate Penn's argument a little bit, right? I just not to brag, but somebody brought the temple thing. But during the temple thing, Prime brought up the little saver tracker and pulled it up. And a point I wanted to make is similar to Pentemple's is it said 8 billion. Right? I think it said, and I could be wrong on the exact number, it might be like $20 off or something, but it was like $757 per American, like per person was saved by like this amount of money being cut just on programs, whatever. That this is what the thing that was pretty left-leaning was saying. To me, like, all right, $750, not that much. But to like my friend Mel that was just here, she'd be like, oh, $750? That's like 2 car payments, right? Like, hey, let's go. That's a lot of money to the average American. If you're going to go, hey, we spent $8 billion being just wasted, and you can turn around and say you're going to get $750 on your next check on less taxes.
Gibbs,
I feel like that's a lot to people.
You are agreeing with me. You are saying that certain amounts of money as a percentage of their total net worth or income, it matters more. So $750 is not a large percent.
The percentage matters
more.
The percent.
I understand that, but you're right. No, you're right, and that's kind of what I think you're missing. What Pentemple's saying, which is like,
I promise you, I understand his policy completely. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense. It's just a dumb way to evaluate things. $10 billion is a lot of money, especially look, $10 billion. I will never make even close to that much money, right? But when you look at $10 billion in the scheme of Social Security, one of the 2 largest things that the government spends money on, I don't want to burn $10 million or $10 billion every year. But if I'm looking at how good Social Security is performing, and it's like, holy shit, especially compared to other agencies, and maybe this might elucidate a little more, Pentemple. If you look at like, hey, how much waste and fraud is in, I don't know, like a private company? How much waste and fraud is this? And you measure that because you can't compare those. No, you can't compare those as a number. You can't say, well, there's 10 billion waste in Social Security, but there's only 3 million waste in Walmart. And it's like, well, hold on, this Walmart only makes $10 million a year. That's 30% of their income is wasteful. That's a fucking dog shit Walmart that they're not running correctly. Versus 1%, which is still a lot of money because 1% of a trillion is 10 billion. It's much better program because only 1% of every dollar I give there is going to be wasted. So that's why you measure it as a total effectiveness. You don't say the raw number. The raw number is going to change. The raw number
with Walmart.
So, but
we are very far from the point.
I want to let me just go one little further. This
just a basic logic.
So, hold on. So if we agree that 2% of 2% of like
it is basic logic.
Hold on. Follow. Play with me here for a second. We got 2% out of Social Security, right? The problem is when we look at overall budget, it's 1% here and 2% there and 1.5% there, and these numbers are just 10 billion, 20 billion, 5 billion, like, and they start adding up. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. What do you think like cleaning these things up looks like if it isn't going through these organizations and finding 2% and knocking out that 2%?
Okay,
because 2% of one like thing is not
so
bad.
we're not arguing against
22%,
not knocking out that 2%. Like, look, if there's a way to fix the 1%, 2% fraud or waste in Social Security, I'm sure everyone here would be for that. But think about it this way. The government is the largest, funder of anything in America. Let's say we suddenly expanded our budget in the government from $1 trillion for Social Security to $1,000 or $100 trillion. Suddenly, 1% is now $1 trillion. That's way more money. That's 10 times, 100 times as much as 10 billion. What the fuck? That's a lot, right? But we're measuring it. Hey, is this program working, right? Are we spending, $999 trillion and keeping people out of poverty? Like, it depends on the scale of the thing. So if you're measuring how effective something is, the raw number tells you nothing. The entire reason we started this is because Pentuple said, hey, 1%, 2%, that doesn't tell me anything. Well, it tells you exactly what you need to know as to whether or not you're being efficient. Yeah, it could be wasteful. If you want to say, hey, this program, this huge fucking military program wastes 3% of its budget because we're flying planes around that are waiting to land in El Salvador to fucking deport these Venezuelan gangs or whatever. Yeah, like that might be wasteful, but the budget is like what, $1.7 trillion. So yeah, 3% is going to be a much larger number. The scale does matter, but the percentage is how you would measure that effectiveness, and the raw number actually tells you nothing at all. It tells you how much is being wasted.
Tyler.
All right, let me up in here real quick. So Pentuple, the standard you have of the 1-2%, if you look at any historical context here of it not being acceptable, this is the best we've ever had. This is the best any system put together has ever had. Hold on, I got a lot of stuff I looked through here while I was waiting. If you look at businesses, the amount of their product that breaks is lost for whatever reason, their loss percentage is much higher than 1%. And that doesn't mean that it's inefficient for them. Like, that this amount is factored in. Like, and the only way to actually get rid of it, to combat it, is what Joe Biden tried to do when he hired 80,000 IRS employees, was increase the size of the workforce. So if you want to catch this fraud, if you want to rule down on it, what we saw when Bill Clinton restructured welfare, allowing the states to do it, it gave the states more money to hire more employees. When they hired more employees, welfare fraud dropped from 8%, where it was classically sitting, to 2%, where it sits now at an all-time record low. So I get that it's bad. I get that we want to get it down to 0. But at the same time, I'd like to get murders down to 0 too. The fact that we still have murders doesn't mean get rid of murder laws or go in and audit how murder laws work to change them to make it 0 by default because you changed the rule. Like, it just isn't feasible to meet this. And I posted a meme in the group chat. That's you right now.
Let me build a bridge to Pentuple. All right, let's say there was like some cure for a disease, right? And it's 1% of people die.
About fraud earlier, and you said it's only 2% of this department. I didn't know the department. I didn't know how much their budget was. That's why I'm saying it wasn't enough information, and it just came off as trying to minimize it. Everything you guys have said since then is like, I mean, yeah, like
okay, cool, awesome.
Like the numbers, like the things that someone else is saying are making sense to me. I'm understanding what you're saying, but I'm not saying that. All right. I'm saying when you grow systems at scale, the level of like error you have should decrease as you grow. You introduce redundancies and stuff. If 99% of basketball players in the NBA didn't have career-ending injuries and 1 out of 100 did, the NBA would never accept that. They would immediately be looking at they'd be looking at the boardroom, be trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. So it's like it's just it's not.
Yeah, and if 1% of every meal I had was human shit, yeah, it's a different standard though.
Well, and here's the thing: if I had known exactly how much the department was, then it it maybe wouldn't have been as annoying to me. It's just like it's
No,
we
but that's
throw
the
these
whole
numbers
point, is
out,
the
and it's, like,
percentage is what matters.
intentionally
The-
feels like it's to minimize the number, when in reality, like, let's address the numbers as they actually are.
It's funny because it's the exact opposite, because you look at the Doge clock and it's not telling you how much percentage of waste they're cutting. It's just a raw number. And so it's like, hey, we went into the fucking military and we cut 0.00001% of inefficiencies by upgrading to this specific, vehicle or whatever. And it's like, hey, we just saved $1 gajillion. It's like, yeah, but that's fucking useless. Like, you just spent all this time and money to save a little bit of a percentage of a budget for this huge fucking program. The percentage is the only thing that really matters. $10 billion could go to other things, and you can argue, hey, maybe the budget for XYZ thing is too big. I think the military budget is too big, but that has very little to do when you're arguing about the efficiency of that program.
I think any system that has 10 billion in waste is inefficient. I mean, how do you justify $10 billion in waste? Like,
because it
genuinely,
keeps
like,
22 million people out of poverty.
Right, so like how
Quintuple.
if you have 10
no,
billion in
Quintuple,
waste, how
Quintuple.
many
You
people
don't
are that
know,
are getting?
Quintuple. That view entails horrible things. If, let's say, hypothetically, you comprehend this hypothetical, you had a program that, like, let's just say, kept literally 300 million people out of poverty, okay? But it had 10 billion in waste. Would you say that's a bad program?
It doesn't sound.
He's not going to answer.
sustainable.
He's not going to
It
answer.
certainly doesn't sound sustainable. Yeah, I would say it's probably not a good program. It's wasting 10 billion in
Oh,
waste.
great. Okay.
Okay,
How are
wait.
you gonna do that?
I'm just real quick.
There's a program. There's a hypothetical program that saves every human being on the planet, but it wastes $10 billion.
So
Would
it's
you
the
support
COVID
it?
vax?
No, every single
COVID
person. No,
vax?
not just millions. 8 billion people survive, but $10 billion goes to waste. Would
Okay.
you support it?
Okay, so the COVID vax.
No.
8 billion.
Are
in
you
waste.
fucking
No.
serious?
Wait.
Are you thinking
hold on
about
a
this?
I mean, it's a
Like-
ridiculous question, obviously.
No, can
Well,
understand
okay, and would you say yes?
You said-
I
would say
$1
don't do it. I would say don't do
It
it.
doesn't sound
Any
like a wasteful
program that
payment.
Wait,
$10 billion is inefficient and bad, okay? That is what you said. That necessarily entails...
No, I just
I'm
want on
joking.
the
Obviously,
record.
I
I
would
just
say
want
that's
on the
hypothetical.
record
I
that
would do
you
it.
guys are like totally fine with 10 billion in waste, and we'll run on that in the next.
Yes!
Hold on.
we can do,
There is a line between there. It's
It's the best we can do, Tyler. You really believe that?
It's
You
the
really
best
believe
we
that?
can do without
You really believe
people.
right now we're doing the best we can do, Tyler?
No, hold on.
It's pretty good, man. You know?
No, hold on. Let's just build a bridge here. If there was an actual hypothetical scenario where every person on Earth could like live the wonderful lives, and we could start the Imperium of Man and conquer the stars or whatever it is we're gonna do, it went for only $10 billion worth of waste, I'd be on board. Sure, let's do it.
Well,
But
yeah.
there-
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah? Yeah? No, yeah.
Hold on, there is a line
Yeah.
between.
Is this 10 billion in waste that we're talking about saving our lives?
Yes! It literally is!
But that's like saying it's like 10 billion with waste for 22 million people that are like too lazy to work or something. Like I don't like. Sorry, don't want to
Bro.
support those guys. Like there is levels to this. I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly the case here, but like there's on one side, sure, if that's all it's going to cost. On the other side, come on, there's got to be some kind of lines here, right?
Yeah, Gibbs, I'm going to try
always
one
bring
last
up the
example.
line.
I'm going
It's
to try one last example, non-fun, and then I will stop talking about this. All right, Pentuple, would you say that if my daughter's lemonade stand had 10 billion waste, it was a bad thing?
Dude, if your daughter's lemonade stand had 10 billion in waste, she's like the goat of lemonade stands.
Okay, but would you say it was bad? Like she's running it poorly?
If she's wasting $10 billion, yeah. she's
Yeah, I
probably
gave her a budget
got
of
some- got
$5,
some-
so
Yeah, she's probably
Okay.
got a. Well, she's then how's she wasting it?
I don't know. She is
How is
so
she
fucking
wasting it
stupid.
then?
I raised her terribly.
That doesn't.
okay?
Your hypothetical just fell apart. It doesn't even make sense. How is she
was-
wasting it if you
Yeah,
gave
she
her
was
five
on
and she
Alright.
makes $10 billion?
Okay.
We're
Just
All right.
thinking about this, you
Clearly.
realize
money.
Something. She's
They didn't make this
she's-
money.
she's
they didn't
insane.
run a
Wait.
business.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the whole point.
Clearly, she fucked up. All right. Now, if a program's budget was $100 quadrillion and it had 10 billion in waste, would you say
Yes,
that's a
that's-
poorly run program?
It would be better than the 10 billion that we have right now with whatever the current numbers are. Yeah, it would be better.
Oh,
But
oh
still, I
wait.
think
Why?
systems-
Why? Why would it be
grow.
better? Why would it be better? Why would it be
Systems
better?
grow.
Wait, answer.
Hey, as
You're so
systems
close.
grow,
You're so close. You're so close. Why would it be
As
better?
systems go, What?
Why would it be better than the 100 quadrillion budget with 10 billion waste? Why would that be better than the current system with
Are
10
you
billion
arguing
waste?
that there's relativity everywhere? Like that's your argument?
No,
There's
no, no. I'm
relativity?
asking you, why
Argument
is it
that
better?
If the government's wasting $10 billion, then there's something they can do to look at it, and it would be important to do. And if we could save $10 billion, if we can identify that we're safe, like we know that we're doing this with $10 billion.
You were saying it earlier, though.
Keep doing it.
Pentuple, you were saying it earlier. You said
No, it's,
if there was $100 quadrillion budget and there was $10 billion in waste, that would be better.
Yes, I understand the relativity of understand. Yes. Yes.
Do you?
Percentages can show relativity. That's what I've been
I
saying.
genuinely am not sure that you understand the relativity of numbers.
Let me
No, you guys are confused because you guys have built this out into like 50 different directions.
How much money? How would you say it's a good program? What's the 100?
If I say I spent 2% of my net worth today, how much did I spend? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know your net
Do you
worth.
have any idea?
No.
Exactly. That's
But
my whole fucking point.
But you know what?
I didn't give you enough information.
Spending, but that's bad.
2%.
No, but that's
it.
bad in any case. Spending 2% of your net worth.
If your net worth, and then I told you I had this much on, I own this and all this. You're adding all this other shit. I mean,
No.
It
does. It tells me. No, Gibbs. It tells me. Gibbs, please. Look, this tells me everything. No, Pentuple. That tells me everything I need to know. I don't care if you have, if you're a 100 billionaire or if you have $100 to your name. If you're spending 2% of your net worth in a day, that's probably a ridiculously stupid fucking purchase. And yeah, it's a little less painful when you have $100 billion, but it's still fucking stupid, and that does matter.
All right, now, hey, all right. Before anybody responds, I have an idea. Drew, you've been sitting here soaking it in. Thoughts? Let's hear the thoughts. What are your thoughts? You've been sitting here. You've been quiet. What do you think about what has been said for the last 30 minutes about this subject here? You like that watch I just pulled out? Didn't even have on. Terrible. Go ahead.
I see both sides. I mean, I see. I forget some of the names. I see Non-Fawn's point. I see Soypill's point about like, like the relativity of it all. Where it's like if you have a program that's, $100 quadrillion and what was the number, like 2%, and it's like 10 or if it's like 10 billion or whatever, then like obviously it's gonna be better. But I also see Pin's point about like it doesn't excuse the 10 billion waste. So it's like I think there's good points on both sides. I mean, it also just to be fair. Well, yeah, okay.
Hey, he said he saw your point on fine. Don't be mean. All right.
Yeah, he's working through it. We had
he's building bridges. We're burning them down, and
challenging your guys' point.
Let him finish.
Okay.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let him finish. Go ahead, Drew. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, just to be fair to Pin's point, though, I mean, I think he was just making the point that you have to. Like,
so what do you think, though?
No.
Tell me what you think. Yeah, what do you think here? What do you think is the nut and bolts of this? What would you propose?
You think it's acceptable that we waste 10 billion if it's relatively a small amount compared to some other numbers?
No, yes. I mean, I think we need to look into the 10 billion wasted because, like you were saying earlier, Gibbs, you were talking about like how we could, distribute that out and give that back to people. So
how would you propose we look into that? What do you think that would take?
What do you mean?
Would it be general, or would it be a special department? What would you envision?
Yeah,
dude, I'm literally.
You'd hire somebody to take care of that for you. Maybe a new employee or two.
I'm literally. I'm retarded, so it's like I don't really know how that would work. I'm just saying, in principle, I think that it'd be a good thing to figure out where the $10 billion is going. Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing.
That's perfect. So you're a normie then. So like, okay, what do you see? Like, when someone goes, we're cleaning out a government agency, right? I feel like the rest of us here are all online pilled, right? So it doesn't sound like you're as online pilled as we are. So, okay, when you say, hey, I want less government spending or less government waste or whatever, what do you, in your mind, envision, just like that looks like? Is it similar to what's happening now? Is it not that? Are we, like, what are you envisioning?
I mean, I would envision that you would go in, if you're talking about just immediately getting rid of all the government waste, I would imagine you would just go with an axe instead of a scalp. I would imagine that you would just kind of gut it all, I mean, not necessarily in the sense of like getting rid of, whole agencies, but I mean, at least the bad parts, like finding them and then, gutting it, and you might make some mistakes here and there, but.
Who defines bad in this?
What do you mean?
What is your metric for like what's good and bad? Like,
yeah, let's say in this instance, Elon Musk would say that there's a DEI program he doesn't like, and that would be bad. Would you say that's bad as well? And if so, how did it get implemented? If somebody must have thought it was good along the way to make that, policy, right?
think that's just the nature of politics, though. It's just whoever's ruling. I mean, I think that one side, like if the Democrats were to come into power, I think they would say, yeah, like it's a good thing that we have DI programs. If the Republicans were to come in, it's like, yeah, we should cut the DI programs. You know, I mean, me personally, I lean to the right, so I don't think that we should keep the DI programs. But I mean, I think it's just a question about the nature of politics.
Leans to the white.
Pentable, is your wife a DEI marriage?
She's a DEI wife.
I actually wait. I bet I could say something that Pentable, you would agree with everything I'd say. Can I try?
Let's
You can try.
No, we're gonna try. Okay. $10 billion is a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay. It would be better if that $10 billion was not wasted and went to things that we could do effectively in the government.
Or not like yeah. Or it could just be not like go to the government at all. Like reduce our taxes by that amount. Would be
I
nice.
like that.
And when we're talking about the effectiveness of something, the percentage matters. But on the flip side, if I told you I saved you a bunch of money, like I was trying to quantify how much I saved you, if I don't know the budget, that means nothing. The percentage means nothing. If I said, hey, I'm Elon Musk, and I cut 5% of X agency, and I'm going to return that to the U.S. budget, and you find out, oh, that's the lemonade stand budget. You cut 5% of $5. That's nothing and useless, and you waste a bunch of time. That quantify that nominal number matters way more, right? So the whole point we're saying is just one, that the percentage matters when we're measuring effectiveness. Two, when you're telling you how much money you saved, if you don't look at the budget and what the program is actually doing, it doesn't matter what $10 billion is, because if that amount of money is, 100 quadrillion, then that's an incredibly effective program that we should keep, especially depending on what it does. So yes, the context matters. Percentages are not always the end all be all. And the nominal does matter when you're talking about how much money you're saving. We're just trying to say that Social Security shouldn't be cut because it's doing a really fucking good job of keeping people out of poverty.
Right.
Is Social Security doing that? Because like I said, once again, I feel like why is okay?
Wait, why do you care? You just say let it fuck them, like let them die. You don't even if it isn't doing that.
Because it is or not, but...
Yeah, because I don't. But let's just argue for a second whether or not it is. Like, I mean, if we require instead, like, let's just make it a law, right? Like a proposal instead of Social Security. Instead of it going into the Social Security fund, you just require that percentage to be invested into a S&P or mutual fund of their choosing. Why would that be worse?
Because if the stock market crashes and they aren't able to pull it out, then a bunch of people will die because they won't have any money.
Don't make me agree with you.
I mean, wait, but people don't pull it out already.
Oh no,
people don't have access to.
What do you? Okay, not fun. Yeah, okay, let's hear you. What do you don't like that proposal, or like, what is your thoughts?
No, I do. I'm such an evil neoliberal dude. Okay, I love welfare. I love welfare so much. Oh my god, I love welfare. The welfare state is one of the best things the Democratic Party has ever done. Okay, Social Security probably not technically the most efficient way.
Something juicy coming if he's setting up all this preamble.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
I think a system similar to Australia's, where it's just an employer-side payroll tax, which at the end of the day does fall on the employee, but it's an employer-side payroll tax. They pay it into a fund that grows over time. The same way Norway has a sovereign wealth fund that grows over time. It's probably better than a system that it only invests in like U.S. government bonds. Like even I don't know that you could let Social Security invest in the S&P 500 as well, but.
Interesting.
And hey,
what happens
Elon
if it's not
the magic money computers? We can
Democrats want to cut Social Security.
Oh, you're right.
That's what I just heard. Democrats want to cut Social Security.
Non-fun.
Well, I'm like
non-fun doesn't like the guarantee of Social Security. Democrats. He's a dirty neolib.
I do like the.
He's a fascist. Scratch a neolib and a fascist bleeds.
True. Like, I mean, but like, I think it'll actually be more solvent in the long. Like, if you look at Australia's fund has like continuously grown over time.
Why should I care what those fucking upside down criminals do?
So I just want to say the federal,
like the Social Security Trust Fund is like depleting, so like it's probably gonna be insolvent. It's like there's a
what happens when it's insolvent
and how it's gonna cause.
But what happens when it's insolvent non-fund?
It goes down to 90% instead of 100.
Yeah,
it goes down to 83%, I think it is, and also you could rectify it by just taxing people a little more, because right now I believe it is not a progressive tax on people who make over amount of money.
You could also rectify it by burning old people. So I mean, just throw that out there.
Yeah, increase
do things
taxes
to go
is
out
like
already.
burning old people. Actually,
Bro.
not promoting Social Security is essentially the same as burning 17 million old people. So
Before we get too far along, there's something Non-Fon said about a half an hour ago. I've been just chomping at the fucking bit to get to here.
Stick it.
Oh boy.
Go for it.
Let me get on you, but so you said you don't like the president being able to interpret laws and challenge how those laws are interpreted by how Congress wrote them or how previous executives might have interpreted them or just however the fuck they want. You said you don't like the president having that power. Maybe like in this instance, the president interpreting how to read how Congress should count the votes and challenge that with an Eastman plot, right? You don't like that?
I mean, I will caveat this with there are probably reasonable cases of like forcing the issue where like you do something that you want evaluated in a court, but I think a lot of these things are not like reasonable. Like I don't think it's reasonable to have the birthright citizenship EO just to like force the issue in court. I don't think that's a reasonable thing.
So if a president was taking previous laws that were written with a different intent and you're using more of an originalist argument there, he took those originalist intents and altered them to his own ends to, let's say, cut student loans, you'd say that's probably a bad thing and maybe an authoritarian act in some way, wouldn't you?
I think it's probably more reasonable.
You're trying to talk about the student loan. No, hold on. We talked about this Non-Fon, me and Pisco, and yeah, it actually was bad. The courts challenged it, and then he didn't do it again. Instead of forcing it down their fucking throat over and over and over again.
He did different ways.
Yeah, he did a different way. He did a completely different way with a legal
7.
precedent of doing it. Yeah, sure,
7
exactly.
different ways.
Sure.
That sounds to me like trying to force it down the court's throat.
No, forcing down the court's throat is either trying over and over again the exact same way or just ignoring the court outright, which is kind of what's happening now. Those are not equivalent. But also, I will concede that, yeah, the way he tried to get rid of student debt was illegal, and I'm glad it didn't happen.
I mean, I don't think that right now we're at the point where a court has been ignored. Temporary restraining orders and the injunctions that are being placed on him aren't the same as court orders. They're a step down in some way, and the Trump administration seems to think that they are able to bypass that. They have the legal right, and they said they're ready to fight it out in court right now. So Pentuple's probably the best person to talk to there in terms of if that's legal or not. I have no fucking idea. I'm not a law guy. I code.
What was sorry, I zoned out.
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to attack Non-Fon real quick for his inconsistencies, being a simp of Biden. Biden was at his best
do you have
in
any
the
response to
90s.
this?
I wish Biden.
This response. It's not just slander Non-Fon.
I mean, I'm basically okay with what Soy said. Like I said, there were probably reasonable times to force the issue or whatever, and not reasonable times to force the issue. I don't think a lot of the things Trump are doing, there's a reason most of Trump's lawyers did not sign off with the Eastman plot, because it's fucking absurd, and there are clearly fucking absurd challenges that you can make to court that aren't made in good faith. And I think that Trump does a lot of those, whereas Biden isn't really doing that.
And when pressed in private, even Eastman said that would not clear the Supreme Court, and he was hoping that they wouldn't even take it up. Yeah, he was
thinking on the political questions. Yeah.
Yeah, his plan was that they wouldn't even fucking take it up. It's such a dumb, idiotic way to absolutely.
Safi, if you're a software engineer, that means you have lots of money. Super chat me.
It's a good way. Some ways it's abuse. Some way Biden, might have overstated his parole authority and let a lot of people into the country that probably shouldn't be here. But it is what it is. So I also
so let me ask you this. You said basically forced it down his throat with the 7 different ways, right? All right. So here's my question, right? What is the president supposed to do if he wants a policy done? And so he goes in there and tries a different way, and they strike that down. Then he goes a different way, and he finds, I guess, the loophole in that. And then, to where there's no judicial way to get rid of it. Isn't that kind of the way it's supposed to be? Is you go different ways. The judiciary decides, hey, whatever. If you still don't like that he got through this way, then you legislate it out. Isn't that how things are supposed to be done to an extent? Or do we object to that process overall? Or
no, if you try to pursue different legal means, that's totally reasonable. The problem with Trump is that, he's come in with a precedent and a playbook of, hey, we're going to do everything in our power to ignore these courts. When judges go against his will, he says this is an activist judge and lobbies to have him removed or impeached for no actual good reason other than he didn't do what I wanted. And this is very different from, hey, this didn't work in this legal way. I'm going to try a different legal way, or I'm going to appeal it. Those are very, very different.
You don't think there are activist judges though, in general, What do you do when you have
If the
activists? I think we both
implication
know there
if
are.
the implication
on
is
both
that
sides.
a judge who would completely ignore all like evidence of a case and just rule the way they wanted to because of the party they're aligned with, I don't think you would struggle to find many of these, and especially not
But
the
there
ones that
are
Trump
some
recalling.
though, right? Like on both
I,
sides that want to
I-
legislate from the bench. You
I-
don't think that's
Sure,
an issue?
there's a
I'm
small
sure there's
percentage.
one that exists, yes, and I would,
Right,
you know,
sure.
and I'll
On
give you
both
this. Wait,
sides. I'll
hold on.
argue both
Let me
sides.
give you this. I think most of the Supreme Court, you could even argue all of them, are activist judges insofar as they very often rule with what the party of the person who elected them. That said, they still often go against that. Like even Amy Coney Barrett or Gorsuch, like aren't as extreme as maybe Alito or Thomas or Roberts. So it's like, okay, yeah, they're activists insofar as you can't remove a politics from someone's brain, and they're going to think things that align with certain political parties.
Sure.
But I think what Trump is implying, especially all the way back in 2016, is like, oh, this guy who is Mexican can't rule in this case because I say bad things about Mexicans. Like that's insane. Obviously, that man's not an activist, but that's his implication because he just doesn't like what they're doing. That's the only reason he's saying it.
I would put Roberts in the moderate category as well. He's the guy that gave him Obamacare, so they call him a rhino.
Roberts, you never know what he's going to vote. Non-fun, you were saying something.
I forget what I was saying. I think I just said like obviously, I was responding to a little bit earlier when you weren't talking about activist judges. You were just talking about what the president should do. Like it probably a lot of it's going to depend on good faith. Like if the president's like literally trying to find like a loophole, that's probably not good faith of him, and it's probably bad. But if they're just trying to do a policy that they do genuinely think is good, and they're trying to find a legal route to do it, I don't necessarily think it's bad as long as like the way they do it isn't like obviously a loophole that wasn't intended or whatever.
So in order to ensure that, though, that has to be a power that they have access to. And what you're saying is you're retracting your initial statement.
What do you mean? Like I don't think I don't know what you mean. So, like, I don't think the president should have the power to fire the head of the Federal Reserve, but I recognize if he does that anyway, like, that might be a constitutional issue, right? And, like, the courts could ultimately come down and say the Federal Reserve can't actually be independent, it's unconstitutional. But I don't think the president should have the right to do that. I don't think that's a reasonable issue to force. I don't think that's,
And that would be what Humphrey's executor is about.
All right, yeah, perfect. So this is about perfect timing here. Let's get some closings, and you can tell us anything y'all got exciting going on in y'all's lives if you're going on streaming. It's about that time. I've been going for almost 5 hours here. So we'll start with you, Tyler. Go ahead and tell us what you do. Give us closing thoughts, and we'll give out some final thoughts at the end here, and then we'll be good. Go ahead.
The only thing on my notes here I didn't get out, I kind of wanted to ask the right-wingers if they would be cool with federal overreach if we see some of these Soros DAs like Prasner, Bragg, and back in the day, Boudin with the BLM riots of peace, if they don't actually go through and persecute these people. Would you like to see the federal government go in and overstep the state authorities and violate their own version of federalism to see these people punished or not? That's kind of what they're doing with ICE to a degree as well. Do you like that or no? But we never got to that. What I'm working on right now is I have a housing policy I've sent out to every left-winger I know, having them help me build it up. It's a housing policy that starts fundamentally left-wing, incorporates a lot of things right-wingers like to try to actually make something that both sides can at least be somewhat happy with. The next step now is to get together a panel of right-wingers and try to sell it to them like I'm selling them a used car, and get all their retractions and use that to amend the policy next. So anyone that's interested, professionals, if you're an economist, city planner, do anything like that, hit me up, lawyers, anything like that. Or if you're a political person from maybe a niche political background, hit me up as well. I need those too. So
fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's go to old Drew over here.
Yeah, like you said, Gibbs, pretty normie takes from me tonight. Just sort of observing it all and taking it all in. Yeah, I mean, I thought there were points on both sides. But Pin, I know you need the percentage, the total
God damn it.
number of the percentage that counts. But no, I've just been just been streaming a little bit, podcasting, and yeah.
Fantastic. Non-fun.
Free trade is good. Welfare is good. Liberalism is good. If you want to watch me defend all those things, hop over to NonFun420 on Twitch and Kick and NonFun on YouTube. I got a bunch of debates uploaded on my YouTube channel. You guys should all check them out. Basically, everyone is in some of them. Pentuple is still wrong about the balance of payments, by the way. I don't think he ever admitted that he's wrong about that, but check me out.
All right. Well, from non-fun to Pentuple.
Hey, I run MAGA headquarters and I stream politics and baseball. And I'm coming after Tyler. I have beef with Tyler now.
Football's
Nice.
better
So-
anyways, you pussy.
Yeah, don't
You
disagree with
fucking idiot.
Yeah, nobody likes baseball. He's right here. You're gonna find no support for your arguments here. Soyville.
Bruh.
Yeah, I don't advocate for violence or vandalism. I, however, do think that Elon Musk is at the very worst Nazi, or best Nazi adjacent, at the very worst probably an actual Nazi. I totally understand why people are pushing back against that. I make YouTube video essays, and I am going to actually probably a Tesla protest on Saturday where I won't commit any crimes, but I will film and interview people, and there'll probably be a video on that. As for the panel, thank you all for being here. I think 33.33% of it made good arguments. Otherwise, I had a great time, and thanks for having me, Gibbs.
Yeah, hey, I want to thank Nonfun and Soyville for coming to back-to-back panels today, and appreciate all y'all. We had a little bit of a disorganized panel today. I think this was a really fun one, to be totally honest. Sometimes the less organized ones are better. It depends on the chemistry, I think. But yeah, this was good. I hope we'll see all y'all again soon and whatnot. Let's see, I'm gonna raid somebody out, but I don't know. We'll figure it out in just a second. But thank y'all so much for being here. Appreciate it as always. I think all my upcoming content, I'll be back Monday, guys. And for sure, I don't know what we're doing Friday and Saturday, but probably gaming. It'll be exciting. Let's raid. Who are we going to raid? You know what? We're going to do this just because it'll be funny. Let's raid. We'll raid your new dad. I haven't raided him in a while. He's a good one. If y'all like comedy, yeah, he is a Comedy Central. He's been on Comedy Central for a bunch of stuff. He's from my hometown. Good people. Good people. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Andrew, you want to hop in over